Welcome to this week's Street Talk segment, everybody. So, another much discussed instalment of Coronation Street aired on Wednesday. That was, it was previewed. We had trailers for it, and in some ways, I was quite pleasantly surprised by how it turned out. The accident, were you?
But can we talk about it when we get to it?
We can talk about it when we get to it if you want to. We can have time to gather our thoughts.
Because we keep doing this. We keep up top just saying something about.
People need to know whether this discussion is worth listening to, but maybe it is better to let them wait. I have got a few headlines for you first, Gemma, a couple of clickbait headlines. There wasn't too much in the way of Corrie clickbait this week, but what do you think of this one first? Leicester Mercury had an article this week. Coronation Street's nastiest villain to return. And it's bad news for Tyrone.
Is it Evelyn?
It's not Evelyn. She is not Corrie's nastiest villain, no.
Is it...
Think about it. Nastiest villain, Tyrone. I was baited by this. I thought they were talking about something. This is not a spoiler. It's just a silly thing.
Terry.
No, I thought Terry as well. I thought it was Terry when I heard this. Do you want to know?
Yeah, of course I do.
Kirsty.
No, she's dead.
Yeah, I know. This is what makes it even sillier. So somebody had posted on, I don't know whether it was Twitter or a Facebook group or something, saying that, Kirsty should come back.
Somebody who's forgotten that Kirsty died wrote something on Twitter, and the person who wrote this article for the Leicester Mercury, did they know?
Yes, because the conversation carried on with somebody saying, but she's dead.
Right.
And then somebody else said, well, that doesn't always stop them. And that made a news article in the Leicester Mercury this week.
I've stopped... Maybe I've given up posting on Twitter for Lent, because I haven't posted anything for ages.
Oh, this is true.
Because I want to make my own clickbait.
I thought you were going to say, I want to make my own social media platform.
I'm going to launch...
Clearly not getting anywhere with Blue Sky or Threads, are we?
It's called Gemma Chat. And if you write anything horrible about me, I should delete your account.
Don't anyone go out and register that domain name while we're recording, all right? Next article, Gemma. Liverpool Echo. Coronation Street's DS Lisa Swain says, my goodness... in career announcement.
Right, I know what this is.
Oh, do you?
Right.
Oh, go on
But just for fun, I'm going to pretend I don't. This is when it was revealed that Lisa gets knocked on the head and she's like, I don't like girls anymore.
Oh, no, it's nothing to do with that.
And the actress, Vicky Myers, was like, my goodness. What will they say about that on the internet?
So go on, what is this about then? You've seen this
she
one.
was in it for a year.
She has, she's been a regular character for a year now. Congrats, Vicky Myers.
And what a year it's been, I tell you what.
Oh, for sure.
Bloody hell. She's done
my
very
goodness, what a year it's been.
My goodness.
I just thought that was quite a funny way of... a funny quote to use to bait you in there. But yeah, there we go. And finally, we had one from the Manchester Evening News. Coronation Street star Samia Longchambon says, good job, as co-star gushes over her dream legs.
This is so confusing.
So,
Samia's got dream legs?
Yes.
So she's complimenting somebody on their compliment.
Kind of.
Like she's saying, you know what? Saying I've got dream legs, good job, because I do. Check them out. Look at these pins.
Do you want to know?
You could only imagine.
Do you want to know what this is?
You could fall asleep and dream of these pins.
What she was saying was, so Samia was back at work this week.
Oh, it's a good job that you say I've got dream legs.
No.
Because I've been working out.
Samia's been back at work this week. She's had a skirt on. Spring has sprung in Weatherfield, 8 weeks' time or however far in advance they're filming. And she's saying it's a good job I shaved my legs.
What an odd...
Yep, so that has made a news article there.
And the Manchester Evening News, is that one?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I would have had something like, Samia Longchambon admits embarrassing personal grooming faux pas avoided.
Yeah, well, it's too late. You can't turn back the clock on.
Samia Longchambon slams women who don't shave their legs in shocking outburst online.
Well, anyway, so there wasn't really anything about this week's Coronation Street that I could find. There were a couple of spoilery things about upcoming stories, unfortunately, that I stumbled into. But anyway, there we go.
I can't believe there weren't any, which... Coronation Street star says, this is my final episode in shocking twist.
Oh yeah, Jack P was on this morning on Wednesday, wasn't he? So I've not seen this appearance.
Big old troll.
So what, have you read anything into this?
Did I watch? I think I watched the clip.
Yeah.
Very, very... I don't know if there's more to it than it, but he was just saying... He just said something like, oh, it's going to be a certain anniversary. Is it 25 years or something? since I played David. It would have been really nice to have got to that far, but now it's all over or something like that.
So he massively trolled everybody on this morning.
Yeah, he did. And everybody was like... Yeah, everyone was
like... What a joker.
There's no way David Platt's getting killed on a Wednesday.
There was nobody at all. Whether we knew on Monday's episode that he planned to set up this stunt, so it wasn't even a surprise when he was hit by a car on Wednesday. Nobody went into Wednesday's episode thinking, I hope David doesn't die, because everybody knew that he'd be absolutely fine. That would be the shocker to end all shockers, wouldn't it? That would be the surprise twist of the century for Coronation Street. David was going to be fine. We've actually seen a fair few people hit by cars on Coronation Street over the years, even on that exact spot, to be honest. And I'm going to say, I should have looked this up. How many people have actually been killed by being hit by a car in Coronation Street? Lisa Duckworth. I can't remember. Stephen, of course. That was the place where his Uncle Stephen got killed.
There would be speed bumps there now.
There would be speed bumps.
What about that woman who had a baby who ran in front of the...
Oh, yeah, Alison Wakefield, Alison Webster. Also Joyce Smedley.
Damn it. Well,
so people have been here, but I'm gonna say
hole through the face, but that was not to. That
wasn't. That really doesn't count.
But she was in a car, so it's her own fault.
Well, she didn't get hit by a car, did she?
A pole went through her face.
No, not quite. So yeah, maybe that theory is wrong, but I'm still gonna say that more people have survived being hit by a car in Coronation Street than being killed. So
I do think that's normal, though, isn't it? I think that you're more likely to be all right.
Probably, especially when you're driving down the street as short as Rosamund Street and you haven't really got much chance of going over, 15 miles an hour?
I want them to get... I know Top Gear doesn't exist anymore, which is good because they try to steal our name.
Yeah.
But they should have done... What's this guy? The Stig? The Sting?
The
Stink? They should have got him to see how fast he could drive down that road.
Yeah, they should have done, shouldn't they?
And safely stop.
Well, they didn't want to accidentally kill the stuntman, did they? Right, okay, so we're going to do that story first today.
Maybe after Rob, they did.
We're going to do that story first today. I was not feeling very inspired with my storyline titles this week, I have to say. Dave head first in front of a car.
What does that mean?
It's like dive head first in front of a car. No, that doesn't work. Gemma says, I agree. Pushing Daisy.
No, that's really bad taste.
No, it's not about the baby. It's about the fact that David pushed her out the way of the car. Huh? Pushing Daisy. Wow,
no, I don't.
Absolutely
I still think
fine.
That's bad.
Absolutely fine. Dylan, that was basically the whole of the week was mostly those two stories, and then everything else is like little C stories. So you had a little bit of Dylan the villain with his mate Brody, his Brody.
Brody the Grody.
Yeah.
What's his evil name?
He didn't. He's already got one. Grease Monkey Nuts we'll talk about next. Then we'll do an Oh My God, She Nearly Killed Kenny. The Cassie story follow-up was over by Monday. Yasmeen has been, because it sounds like from this week, Yasmeen's going to be pitching up and heading off to that London to work for a charity. What was it? A modern slavery charity. Mm-hmm. Down in the big smoke. So yeah, she is going to be Yasmeen Hasmin before long by the sounds of it.
I think she should save that charity some money and work remotely.
What was it that you said? You said something funny about... Yasmeen proudly declared today that the old girl is up for sale.
After talking about working for a modern slavery charity.
Yeah, just be careful. Don't run your mouth off.
I think she's got to be careful about the jokes that she makes.
Yeah,
because,
sometimes
us
it's just...
don't have a sense of humour.
If you've got a podcast, anything goes. But if you're working for a charity that's modern slavery,
don't talk about selling yourself.
Be careful what you say, Yasmeen, okay? Rob on the Run is next, and we did get about a 2-second cameo from Rob Donovan towards the end of tonight's episode. So well, no, of course it was him.
Did we see his face?
He had his hood up, but we knew it was him. We knew it.
I want to buy that off eBay.
Well, let him finish with it first.
Right.
And then we have got a little bit more of the Carpe Diem story with Julie.
Oh, yeah.
And not a whole lot happened there. Would you prefer to do the David part of the story or the Daisy part of the story? I think you're probably better doing the Daisy part.
Yeah, but don't get mad at me for interrupting you, because you always get mad and everyone moans at me, but you sometimes don't let me speak.
Look, we can interrupt each other. It's fine. It's
fine.
But
I might have something to say about this.
What, the Dave storyline?
Yeah.
Well, good. I hope you do.
Well, you've got to let me be able to say it then.
So we went into this week. We knew.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
We knew going into this week, if we'd seen the trailers or any kind of publicity about this week, that David was indeed going to be hit by a car. I don't think I realised until kind of going into it on Monday that this would be something that he was organising for himself. My overall impression of this accident, it was a really difficult one to do the short on Wednesday, wasn't it? Because I think it was quite well done on the whole. But the whole concept of David deciding that the only way out of this problem, this money hole that he's in with Harvey, is to arrange for Andy to run him down on Rosamund Street, it's just the most bonkers concept ever. It was a really, really bad plan, wasn't it? And I don't
know if... Go on.
It doesn't feel like the run-up to David realising that the only option was to take his own life, really... There wasn't the build-up to it.
There was months of it.
There was months of him going,
relentless.
Crikey, where am I going to get the money from? I'm in a bit of a dire strait here. But I think that the jump from, what are we going to do, to... well, I'd better just get myself killed then. I think that was too much of a leap. I don't believe that David was feeling so down about it. And I know that Max had just been sentenced to 6 months in prison, and David kind of takes the blame for it a little bit, or feels like it's his fault. I didn't think that it felt natural. And when he announced, well, Andy, you're going to have to knock me down, I was like, what? Did you find that at all?
Wasn't there something else that was like a leap like that recently? And I just thought of it, but I can't remember what it was. Where somebody was just like... Oh, yeah, it was Ryan talking to Daisy the other week, going, I know that we've been totally chill about this, and I just happened to bump into you on the street. But just remember that you owe Carla oodles of money, and it's completely urgent. You must give it to her right this very second, even though...
Come on, the plot needs picking up.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I know we forgot this plot was going on, but you can't anymore. It's the most urgent thing ever.
This Platt storyline has been going since, October, November time? It's just Bethany's fault, really, at the end of the day, isn't it, for going to that dodgy Turkey plastic surgery place. But David has been...
luckily there was no real ramifications for that.
David has been realising that maybe he shouldn't have stolen Harvey's money for quite a long time now, and I just feel like they could have done a bit more to make him feel, make him look completely utterly hopeless and depressed and heartbroken. There probably were other ways out of it other than this.
It definitely feels like the most random thing to think that has to happen. And a lot of people were kind of, and even, this is going to be triggering to some people, but a lot of people were calling it, and I think even Coronation Street tried to make out this was a suicide story. And it definitely felt like that at the beginning. Like, Wednesday's episode was kind of a bit of a weird tone for me.
Oh, for sure.
But I did actually enjoy it, but I didn't think of it as a suicide story, because to me, suicide is about wanting to not be alive. It's not necessarily about wanting to kill yourself, and I think different people are going to have different opinions about this, but a lot of people who are suicidal just don't want to be alive anymore. But that's not what David wanted, was it? No. He wanted to solve a problem. So there was a lot of stuff that would have hit differently and been a bit more impactful to me if it had actually felt like a suicide attempt. But it didn't. It just felt like a sort of hysterical overreaction to me. Yeah. Like a completely out of nowhere, over dramatic, weird, kind of like attention-seeking, bizarre stunt that he did. But I don't think that was what we were supposed to think about it. And David certainly felt like he was in earnest. But like you said, it kind of came from nowhere.
We've seen David feeling suicidal before, haven't we? I mean, after the rape story, and with Josh
when Aidan
years ago
killed himself, they spoke about, David said,
I want to live,
and he never.
I would never do that.
And it would have been nice if they'd addressed this, at some point where he'd said it's different this time or something like that.
Well, you also had, of course, the story when David was trying to mow down Clayton when he was going to court, do you remember? And then Nick and Sarah and Gail, I can't remember, had to lock him in the basement of the bistro, and then he gets out, gets into the car, drives down the street, and this is where Anna, when Anna Windass got caught on fire because he ended up crashing the car and it all exploded there. So we've seen times in the past where David has, it's not impulsively done it, but those felt like there was a little bit more plotting and thought behind it, and this to me felt like he just had a brainwave and thought, oh, of course I can do that, and let's do it.
Yeah, it was really sad. It it's sad because there was so much good about that episode, and I saw somebody commenting on Twitter who said, that really got me going because it felt like how I felt when I was sort of planning it for myself, like the ticking down the moments.
I loved the clock.
Thinking about how are people going to react to it, how should I prepare people, what will happen, I haven't got this much time left, I want to spend it with people I love. That was all really kind of poignant, but then overlaid with that was just this like, number one, he's not going to do it, and number two,
well, he's not gonna die.
Well, he's not gonna die, yeah. And number two, this doesn't feel like I'm sorry, but the sympathy was not there for me because it was just a really silly, unrealistic thing to do. And I'm not, you guys hopefully have listened to this long enough to know my thoughts about, Aiden's story and stuff. And I think it's really important to talk about male mental health, but at no point did this feel like a mental health story.
No.
And so I saw somebody commented on our Twitter, and I think this is a very good way of summing it up. This is Corrie fan 93. Great execution of a terrible concept. Weird one, in my opinion. Yeah. And I don't think I could sum it up any better than that, because the episode it had me on the hook. Part of it felt kind of bizarre and silly, and part of it felt really like this is, I was kind of enthralled anyway. I
was really engaged by the episode.
Yes.
I wasn't like wanting to be looking at my phone. I wasn't kind of turning away and just saying, oh, come on, when's the next advert break or anything, which sometimes happens. They hooked me. I really enjoyed the counting down to the clock thing. The inner monologue I was a bit so about. I mean, it was not been long since we had the Paul episode, which I think did the inner monologue thing better. But yeah, the clock saying, 6 hours to go now, 5, and David kind of jumping from place to pace. Yes, they could have done possibly without the swirly camera effects, how like the background changed and then he's somewhere else. It was a neat technique, but not Corrie, I think many people would say. But yeah, the clock concept itself was good, but and I'm glad that they had the accident halfway through the episode as well, because it would have been more of a letdown, I think, if the whole episode had been counting down towards it and it had been left as a cliffhanger on the end of is he going to be okay, because we knew that he would be. So yeah, I think a good execution of a really iffy concept is a good way of putting it. I kind of put the question to you on Wednesday night, do you think it would have had more of an impact had we not known Daisy's involvement in the story? Because that was the other thing. If you'd seen any of the pre-release publicity of it, you knew that Daisy was going to get hit as well. I think that Coronation Street very much could and probably should have avoided making that part of it public, don't you think?
That would have been great. Like you were clever to liken it to what happened with Daisy and Ryan when
the acid attack
Rutherford through the acid. Through the acid, and we did not know that it would hit Ryan more than Daisy.
No,
his involvement was completely not.
Yeah, that was all publicised as Daisy is going to have acid thrown at her. This is going to be an acid scarring storyline. So people went into that episode, most viewers, I'm going to say, thinking, oh, Daisy's going to get a load of acid in her face, and then the twist was that it was Ryan. I think if we'd have gone in there thinking, oh, David's going to get hit by a car, he'll be okay. So, but then the surprise twist was, oh my gosh, it's Daisy. She's going to get hit as well. Probably would have been more effective. And
and I think a lot of people probably could put together what would happen to Daisy.
What with the baby?
Yeah. And so it none of it felt,
No, not quite. Well, there were bits of it, and I'm sure that we can unpick them as we go. Shall we?
Well, the internal monologue was. I think that was what threw me off on the tone, because David is so deadpan when he's joking and he's so sarcastic, and there was no difference in the delivery between when he's making a joke and when he's writing his suicide note, okay? So when I was watching it, I was like, I kind of found it a bit funny, especially the bit where he had the pen and with the funny little head on it, and I didn't know how much I was supposed to take it seriously, because it's actually, because the concept was so dopey, And because David's a funny character, and because there were all these juxtapositions of like kind of funny things, and it was just, I think it was because it's such a bizarre idea to be invited into somebody's head who's got this plan, and like he was trying to work the plan out in his head, and he writing things down with this silly little cartoon character on the end of a pencil. I kind of found it a bit funny, and it took me out of it, and I didn't know if it's supposed to be funny.
Well, I think it was, because you also had that scene towards the beginning of the episode where he's looking on his phone, and then you get to see a bit of the plat chat,
you're right.
don't you, with Jessie in a thong. Lollage, exactly.
And
Although,
he starts right, and that's right, he's like, how do I write this? How do I invite everybody? And then he's, right, yo, bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was supposed to be funny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I don't...
And would that have been put in if we'd known that, you know, he was actually going to be dead at the end of it, if this was a mental health story? I wouldn't
put it past David to find it darkly funny that he was going to end his life this way.
Another time when David's done that, when he drove into the canal during Sarah and Jason's wedding day.
David's very flippant with his personal safety, isn't he?
He is. Well, maybe that's why they gave him the story, I don't know how long ago it was now, 7-8 years ago, where he was going around riling up, aggravating these tough men, wasn't he, to get the adrenaline high of running away from them. He is a seriously mentally damaged person. He went through an awful lot as a teenager, so maybe in a way it does fit him.
I felt like I wasn't prepared for what was going to happen in that episode at all, like the tone that was taken, and I was quite happy to go along with it. You know, and at the end of it, I gave it a banging, but I was like, is this actually the worst episode or the best episode? And I still don't really know. And judging from our score, because we run a little poll and we say, what did you think? And 50% basically loved it and 50% hated it. Yeah. And I've never seen a poll like this before. We had 47%.
It's a polarising poll, isn't it?
Banging. 9% bog standard and 44% bobbing.
It was a total
really
Marmite
don't think
episode,
we've ever seen anything like this, to be honest with you.
No.
And I wonder how many, you know, and because it's a really sensitive subject, you know, I'm wary of like upsetting people about talking about it in a flippant kind of way. And I wonder whether your own personal experience with it is going to affect whether you thought this was a good or a bad episode, because it could be very triggering for some people, and I don't know what I would think if I had gone through something like this. And this episode, I don't know. I just don't know. But
I didn't realise going into Wednesday's episode that it was going to be a high production one.
No,
you know
you're
what
right.
I mean?
I didn't.
There was an awful lot of visual effects. Like they were reusing that shot of the camera panning around David, which, like I said, I kind of liked. There were like whooshy sound effects. There was music at the end. I'm sure you know what I thought about that.
Oh, that was one of the things that really made me go, I don't think I like that episode.
Yeah. And then there was the internal monologues. I didn't know there was going to be any of that. But I knew that David was going to get hit by a car, but because car hits a tenner penny. What was that? I can't remember. What was the last one? Was it Adam that got hit last year when he was pushing Bethany out of the way? So I'd seen the publicity for it. I was like, someone's getting hit by a car again. Whatever.
You're right, yeah.
And maybe that's something that's not quite right about Coronation Street at the moment. Having someone being hit by a car should be an absolutely monumental event, as it was when Lisa Duckworth got mowed down back in the early 90s, 92, 93, whenever it was. But when I saw this was happening, it was just like, oh, okay, that's going to be the big cliffhanger on Wednesday, is it? And I felt nothing, and I didn't worry that David was going to be dead. But when the episode started, and then they had started having the camera spinning effects, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to feel this about
serious.
the episode. This is a serious one, and they actually, like I said, did do a good job of it.
You're right.
Ian Kershaw wrote that episode. I thought that it was a great script. Performances were on point for absolutely everyone. It was great that they were able to get Audrey involved in it as well.
You're right. When we heard that this was going to happen, it was like, okay. And then
another one?
Yeah. And when it actually started, they're like, oh, they're taking this seriously. This is important. Like, we're actually supposed to think this is an important thing that's happened, not just a run-of-the-mill car accident.
So if
weird.
if they want us to take car accidents like this seriously, then you've got to stop having other ones and trying to drum up the same kind of furore and excitement over somebody else getting hit by a car when it turns out that it's nothing.
I know, but the thing
Space
is,
them
Coronation Street is like super full on at the moment, isn't it?
It really is. And I wonder whether, is this a Kate Brooks thing trying to make an impact? Because it's we're 10 weeks into the year maybe at this point, I don't know, and we've had the Mason stabbing episode, we've had the Rob, Carla, Lisa episode, which was a big episode, for better or worse. It was supposed to be a big episode. It had a trailer
like a couple of weeks ago,
and we've had this episode.
We also had Kevin and somebody else get cancer.
Yeah, but those are big things, but it's not big episodes.
I know, but that's still a massive deal.
Oh yeah,
there are weeks in Coronation Street, or there should be weeks where nothing really enormous happens.
And of course, we had the fire.
Yes,
it's been a huge spectacle of the first couple of months of Coronation Street, and people who are maybe a little bit less accommodating and trusting of Kate Brooks than we are might say that it smacks a bit of trying too hard, and it's like saying, look, I can do this, like how exciting Coronation Street is, and maybe it makes sense to do that if you're a new producer and you want to make a mark, but you can get drama fatigue, can't you? Well,
this is the importance of breathing room, isn't it? And you kind of need to build it into a soap. It's not like 24 where you can have every hour something exciting happens. You don't have to watch Jack have his lunch halfway through or going to the toilet or something. Like every episode is like the stakes are raised once more. But that's because you're supposed to watch it every week, and this is like, you watch every other day. You're watching another episode. And it's like, oh, what's going to happen now? And once you've seen so many like death, it's like everyone's about to die, isn't it? Because the fire, who's going to die, cancer, who's going to die, Rob, who's going to die,
stabbing.
Somebody did die then. David's going to get run out. Everyone is in mortal peril all the time, and that's not really what.
Yeah, I bet George and Todd must be rubbing their hands with glee.
No, George and Todd are like, what the hell? Another miss opportunity. I cannot believe this. Because it's so much easier to just go around the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, let's get on with the synopsis, and we'll pick out other details as we go. But that's kind of our general thoughts about how it was. So it starts off on Monday. David and Shona are having breakfast in the cafe, and they're looking ahead to the day for Max's sentence.
See, this is what really flips it, isn't it? For
yeah.
I mean, you say it came out of nowhere. It didn't. I know what you mean. It did. Narratively and plot-wise, it didn't come out of nowhere. But like tonally and emotionally, it did.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's just Shona bogs off after a bit. Lauren comes in, and David says that I can't even face going to court. It's one of these, can't face going to a funeral, can't face going to a wedding. Today, David can't face going to a court. I'm not going to do Max any favours coming in with a big black eye. And Lauren says, look, Max is your son. You've got to go in there. Slightly unnecessary hesitancy and nerves there for David, maybe just there as will he make it? He was going to make it, but if he didn't, so what at the end of the day, really? We get to see a little scene between Andy in the precinct and one of his thugs that beat up David and gave him the black eye later on. Through their chatting, we seem to get the impression that Andy is also in Harvey's debt. And he's like, I need to get away from him. What on earth do I need to do to get Harvey off my back? He wasn't in it much this week, but I really appreciated what character development we got from Andy this week, because I hadn't really bought him as this big tough guy, thuggy. He never really struck me as a villain to the core. Yeah. And what we found out this week was that he really doesn't want to be doing it. No, this isn't him. He owes Harvey a load of money, and that was good for me because it helped me to make peace with the fact that I didn't find him that threatening before. He's just doing what he's got to because he is also in fear of his life, like everyone else on the street at the moment.
Why couldn't David have been the one sending thugs after Andy?
This is a good point.
If I was David, I'd be like, why do you get the cushy job? Why do I have to do
you think like Harvey is like casting a play? It's like send me your audition tapes, and I'll say, right, you're gonna be the loan shark that's working for me. You're gonna be the hit and run driver. You're gonna be the getaway driver. You're gonna be the collateral damage in this. I wonder.
I think he's doing multi-level marketing, and the further you get down, the worse the job you have to do in the crime family is.
Of course, still, throughout all of this, Harvey is just this nebulous name. The character himself hasn't
Harvey
appeared
now.
in the show for 10 months or so. And
I just don't care about Harvey and anything he's up to.
I
He's
think
just like this malevolent force, isn't he? With no reasoning whatsoever, or like he's always just
a friend
evil.
in every prison.
How is he so powerful and unchecked? It's weird to me.
We're being told, oh, you need to fear Harvey. He's a tough guy. He's got eyes everywhere. If he's going to get you, he's going to duff you right up or get you duffed up.
And the thing about it is,
we don't see him, so I don't know. But then sometimes when we do see him, all we get is, he's just there with his yellow jacket on in the prison room visiting, and it's
outfit.
like, netball outfit, exactly. It's like, you're not that hard, are you, Harvey?
Well, he is though, but you see, Kit knows about it because he's the one who was talking to David. He knows everything. Why is Kit not doing anything about it? Why
He's got his own problems.
Why is Kit seemingly the only person on the police force who knows what Harvey's up to? Why is Lisa not on the case?
She's also got her own issues.
But
Her
you see what I
girlfriend's
mean?
had a kidney out, Gemma.
Is there absolutely nothing anyone can do about it? They're like, well, he's in prison. What else can we do?
He's got everybody in his pocket. Harvey?
Once you commit a crime in prison, our hands are tied.
Yeah, what can we do? Where can we go
He's
from
already
there?
in prison.
We don't have the death sentence.
Not allowed to
in
kill
this
him
country.
anymore. Can't smack him around the head.
Right.
I mean,
so
really,
anyway,
it's you bleeding out liberals that I blame for this.
I really did enjoy and appreciate the fact that they gave Andy a bit of personality, and what we saw of him on Wednesday when he was building himself up to run David down, and he clearly was having a massive nervous attack about doing it, and he was trying to drown his sorrows and numb the pain. I thought that was very much well done.
I really do like the actor who played. Well,
I didn't think much of him
like...
until this week, but this week has done wonders for him in my eyes. Whether we'll see him again, I don't know. It feels like his job has been done now. So
they're
who
really
knows?
good
Who
at
knows?
dumping people.
Yeah. So everyone's gathering in court later. David does show up because Lauren convinced him to, I guess.
Pretty
and
cried.
he tells Max, look, don't worry about my black eye. It's fine. It's going to be all right. And Max says, I'll call you later, Dad.
Dad, he called him Dad.
He called him Dad. So Max knew that there's no way he's getting out of this. He knew he was getting sent down, just like Dylan did the other week. It was just a case of how long he was going to be behind bars for. While the judge there says this is a Category 1 offence. Yes, Max is young. Yes, he's pleaded guilty. Yes, he has shown genuine remorse. How's that right-wing stuff going, Max? Anything you want to say to the court?
He sent me a really compelling video that said that he's sorry about it.
He probably did, didn't he?
He's made propaganda.
He probably made a proper video. Anyway, he said, on the other hand, there is evidence that you clearly planned this out. Plus, the fire could have spread to neighbouring houses. It could have burnt up Yasmeen, and she's already had her house on fire the last 5 years.
This is classist.
Why?
Oh, sorry, we don't all have detached houses, Your Honour. Some of us live in semi-detached or terraced houses. I can't help my living situation. If I want to set fire to my house, I should have as much rights as somebody who lives in a castle.
This is true.
You're mad.
Anyway, 6.5 years in prison.
I think
I might have said
this.
months earlier, didn't I? Years, of course.
Yeah,
Max is going down. Max is not getting out of this. That is the Max sentence.
Nice.
Thanks. So
yeah, this was.
I don't. Well, I know we've not seen the last of him yet, but
this
well.
was not. I don't know, not completely surprising to me, but also quite a lot of time for a main character to get in prison.
Yeah, for sure. This is I think Jim was sentenced to 8 years maybe after Jez Quigley. So this it did come as quite a shock, quite how long he was sent down for. I mean, you get the good behaviour, half time, whatever. He could be out in 3 years, but because he's not at the same place as Dylan, because he's now over 18, isn't he? He's going to proper big boy prison. In fact, he's been transferred to, where is he now? So he's not
Spain.
I don't know. Durham. Is it Durham?
I always get them confused.
Durham. we're not going to be seeing him for a little bit, are we? Once he has had his final episode, which, as I say, is not quite yet. Sad times. We'll talk more about that when it happens, though. So, Shona and David get back home later.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that we're not going to follow the adventures of Max in prison.
We are not going to be following
for
Max's...
6.5 years. I think anyone could work that one out.
And there's not going to be a miscarriage of justice, or there's going to be a dodgy forensic officer that says, "Oh, actually, they'll let you out because this forensic officer."
It was me. I did it.
Yeah. No. Max is
He's in
Max
trouble.
Max is being locked in his room for a little bit. Yeah, in Durham. So Shona and David get back home later. Immediately get into an argument, bickering session about whose fault it is. David blames himself. I think maybe Shona does as well, to be honest.
What are they arguing about then? They're both on the same team.
They're just taken aback. They're just a bit shocked by the turn of events and having a good old argument about it. It's a natural reaction.
I would never be able to get over how stupid it is, and I would find it very difficult to not completely get mad at Max every time I saw him. Like, you absolute donut.
It was. I mean, this is the same with David.
Now we're homeless.
With the car smash this week. Both of these characters, Max and David, have taken just slightly out of character, and slightly ramped it up a bit too far, the leap from we're in a desperate situation to I'm going to do something absolutely ridiculous here. Like Max, it was a really silly thing to do to actually set your house on fire. Would he have done that? I don't know. I think he would have been a bit more sensible about it and given it a bit of thought.
I mean, he is
and the
young,
same with David. So it's like they're ramping things up a little bit much. Exactly. Max is not stupid. He's totally not stupid. He was supposed to be being the father of Frankie, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Surely you would have given that some thought. But then I could say the same about David. When he decided to leap in front of this car, or have the car drive into him, he's got Lily. He's still got Max. He's shown her he'd be leaving
nothing's
behind.
Happened to his family.
No. And he would be leaving Shona, basically, to pick up the pieces. And I think that David thinks enough of his family to not do that.
Well, I know, but this is where it turns into, is it about suicide or is it about stupid decisions? Because if it really did genuinely feel like a story about suicide, it would be a completely different conversation, because you're not rational, you're not thinking straight, you're just in pain, mentally in pain, and you don't, like I said, you don't want to die, but you don't want to be alive anymore. And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to treat it like that story, because I feel like Coronation Street did such a brilliant job with Aidan's story that it feels like it kind of undermines a little bit all the good work they did to treat this the same way, because it just is kind of silly.
It seems like the main trigger after this for David actually putting this plan together is when he goes to the pub and Billy's there deciding to have another beer, isn't he? And Billy does a little prayer that includes, "Make me good, but not today." And David kind of takes some meaning from this, doesn't he? And he's like saying, "Oh, I could still do..." What do you think that David took from that? Is it saying, I'm gonna do something bad here, it is for the greater good?
I think it's ironically a get out of jail free card, but you can't apply it to people that are already in prison.
Yeah, maybe not. So anyway, he goes up and meets up with Andy in the salon later. Andy doesn't even need to go to the salon, because there's only so much that Audrey can do with his...
Well, I think it's probably more maintenance, unless you're actually, medically
dermatologically
bald,
challenged, yes.
You'd probably have to do quite a lot of upkeep to keep that nice and shiny.
Do you think that Audrey offers a buffing service for bald people?
That would have been trim up north.
Yeah, that would actually.
She's like, if you want it grey, I can help you. If you want it blue, I can help you. If you want it shorter, I can help you. But other than that, I'm lost.
It just reminds me of do you remember the Simpsons episode where Homer works in the bowling alley and he puts his head into the ball shiner thing? It's just like that. Anyway, sorry, Andy. You got a lovely.
He suits it. He does.
Totally he rocks.
He reminds me
rocks that
of
bald head.
He could have been the mummy from The Mummy. The first Mummy movie. That very handsome man who turned into an evil mummy. In the Mummy movie, that had a mummy in it.
Hollywood's all about remakes these days.
He could have
got
played
a chance,
that part with that lovely lady who had the gold outfit.
Anyway, David's meeting up with Andy because he wants to know about this mugging the other day. Shona, obviously on Friday, was saying, "Are you sure that Andy's on the level? It seems quite the coincidence that you were beaten up the very day that you happened to have a wallet full of cash." And so David tries to find this out, and before he can get much of an answer out of him, Andy pulls a knife on him and is like, "Whoa, what's going on here then?" And he's like, "Look, I don't want to do this, but Harvey wants you dead." So
Andy,
what?
Andy, have you thought this through? Did anyone see you come in here? Is this weapon, like, have you wiped your fingerprints of it? Is anyone how are you gonna escape the crime scene covered in blood in the middle of the day? You haven't thought, just like David, you haven't thought any of this through. You seriously don't expect me to believe you're gonna stab him to death in his own place of work in the middle of the day in a busy shopping area?
I kind of believe Andy more. In that it's like, I am completely so desperate that I don't care about the consequences legally. Send me to prison or whatever if you need to.
He's going to get beaten up in prison.
No, he won't though, because he's killed David and he thinks that this is the only way out.
Oh, well, look,
and I think that that's more realistic than what David's doing.
Look, if I got given the gift of being able to kill somebody for free, carte blanche, I have to do it, I would come up with something more exciting than stabbing you.
Well, it's a bit like Copycat, isn't it? We've just had our knife crime story.
Yeah, why don't you do something more exciting? Like, you could, make him eat hair dye.
Well, the whole place is full of peroxide,
yeah.
so I'm sure that there's...
Put him in the sink and drown him.
Yeah. But Andy hasn't had time to come up with a plan. This is the best that he can come up with, isn't it?
With a really heavy hairdryer.
Anyway.
Bake his head in one of those, those things that dries your hair.
Oh, yes.
Bake his head in it.
Yeah.
Come on, Andy.
Anyway, he needed this over quickly. He says, look, Harvey wants you dead. He lent me some money as well. He's putting the squeeze on me. Look, I'm really, really sorry. And you can see that he starts shaking as he's holding this knife. That's kind of the moment where you realise that Andy is in over his head, his lovely bald head, just as much as David is. And David says, look, if you do this and you get away with it, you think Harvey's going to stop? He is going to have this over you forever. You're going to be in his debt forever. And Andy says, look, if he hears that I've bottled it, he's going to be coming after me anyway. I've got no option. But then he bottles that anyway, because he's not a killer at heart, is he? Is dear Andy? Or at least on Monday's episode, he's not. There's a little bit later in the episode where David sees Lily talking with those thugs at the tram stop, and
he's like, they'll never leave me alone.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of another little scene that says, my family could be in danger and I've got to take a brave step of jumping in front of a car to try and protect Lily.
The takeaway here is both my kids are stupid and they're causing aggravation.
I wish they would do more on Coronation Street, and maybe it's to come as she grows older, but I wish they would do more to build up the relationship between David and Lily, because it to be fair, it is quite easy to forget that she exists sometimes, isn't it?
Why does he care about her?
And she is actually his flesh and blood daughter. But I don't feel
there's no
any kind of paternal bond between him and Lily.
Not like him and Max.
No.
Anyway.
No, there's nothing. But is it just because she hasn't had a story yet? I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't like girls.
It's not through lack of Jack P. Shepherd's acting ability, because he's one of the best on the cast. I just don't think there's ever really been a story where we've had to believe that he actually does care about this little kid.
Won't even take her to football. Shona had to do it.
Yeah. So there's maybe something to work on, David. I don't know.
Instead of throwing yourself in front of a car, why don't you talk to your daughter and take her down the field?
Back at the flat, David's getting really quite stressed about all of this, as you would. And Shona tells him that tomorrow Max is being moved to this prison in County Durham. And then he gets a text from Harvey saying, Here your son's going to County Durham. Well, what do you know? I've got a mate waiting for him there as well. So, sucks to be him, I guess. You can't escape me. XX, Harvey. Shona wants to go to the police station about this, and David's like, no, we can't. Harvey's got a load of mates at the police station as well. We cannot escape this guy. What on earth are we going to do? I can't see a way out. So
I can.
The way out is, and if you've been listening to our discussion so far, you know exactly what happened. We are definitely doing non-linear storytelling in today's
we
podcast, aren't we?
always do
We're going to start off with what happened on Wednesday, then how we got to it, and then what happened afterwards. But yeah, David has summoned Andy to the salon once more, and he says, look, right, you got to kill me. You need to make it look like an accident so the insurance pays out. Harvey's going to know you've done it, though, because he bloody knows everything. He's probably tapped the salon at the moment. Harvey's probably saying, yes, okay, well...
Go on then.
As long as David is dead at the end of it, I'm fine with it. And eventually, everyone's going to be safe. It's going to be the only way out of it, apparently. And Andy's like, no, I'm not murdering
Murder is
you.
wrong.
I just bottled it earlier. I told you, I'm not a cold-blooded killer. And David says, no, it's not murder. It's just a mercy killing. One last favour, please. It's me or my kids. I'm gonna say goodbye to my family. I'm gonna have a couple of camera spins. I'm gonna be looking at the clock, have a few little bits of sound effects and music. But 2:00, I'm gonna be at that intersection between Coronation Street and Rosamund Street. Be there, be square, hit me hard and hit me fast.
Beautiful.
Beautiful words, David. Yeah. So Wednesday's episode. This is the big showstopper, isn't it? We've got monologuing. He's going to be dead in 5 hours. No, 7 hours.
That was funny. This is why I got confused.
He can't tell the time, bless him.
I can't tell the time either. I'm really bad. I told you this. No, I can tell the time. I just can't tell. It takes me ages to work out. If it's past 12 and you start adding ones in, I have to get my fingers out and stuff.
Well, David got the hang of it quickly. And so this begins the countdown motif that continues for the first half of the episode. I've already said that I really, really quite like that. But he says, he's just kind of musing over whether it's going to hurt or not. Should take a couple of paracetamols beforehand. I'd say ibuprofen and paracetamol, David, might be the way to go with this. But one thing he does agree, he decided on is I'm going to get hammered before this. So he opens up Platt's chat and invites the Biatches over to the Rovers for one last drink. Interesting that the title of the chat was Platt's chat and not Platt chat, as it gets referred to always on screen. Plus there was a space between the apostrophe and the S. I don't know what was going on there, but anyway, heads down to the cafe, 6 hours to go. Has a bit of a sit with Lily, has a luxurious strawberry milkshake
happened.
with a nice actual strawberry on the top. What?
They've had to make a new one because Max isn't in it anymore.
What do you mean?
They've made a new Platt chat, but it's called Platt's chat without Max in it, so they know the difference.
So they can talk about him behind his
back.
back.
Like, it's rude to, he can't answer because he's in prison. So
it used to be that sending somebody to prison was a good enough way to stop you communicating with your family.
No.
But it seems like everybody's got a mobile phone in prison these days, so you've got to resort to
humane.
desperate measures, I suppose. Anyway, Shona can see this thing up with David, and he's like, I don't like being a burden. And she's like, oh, you never could be, David. But we learn that she can't come to the pub later. She says that she's got something on. Camera spins round a bit more, and they're in Nick's flat. I saw a couple of people online wondering briefly what Toya was doing hanging around this storyline on Monday, because
she lives there.
She lives there. She is Nick's girlfriend at the moment. We had a big story.
That's why
about
she
that.
was talking the other day to Sarah.
Yeah.
Or was it this week?
She just wants to become one of the Platts now,
yeah,
doesn't she?
She is an honorary Platt almost.
She's chosen her side, hasn't she? She's gone for the dominant family between the Platts and the Barlows. She's planted her flag right in Team Platt.
She's got to remember she won't be Toya Platt, she'll be Toya Tilsley.
Toya Tilsley.
So maybe she can convince Nick to become a Platt.
Do you think that she's allowed in Platt chat? Or does she have to marry Nick first? No,
I don't think they let her in.
Have they got do you think you got some grand initiation ceremony? Like at some mega university fraternity before you can get password onto the Platt chat? I mean, Jesse's in it. And it didn't take him too long, did it?
Maybe this Platt's chat is a different one because they didn't want Jesse in it anymore.
Maybe Platt chat is like the public one that anybody can get into.
Yeah.
But Platt's chat is where the real serious conversation goes on, like Jesse sunning himself in a thong on the beach.
You've got to be a full-blooded Platt.
Yeah, maybe.
You have to be related by blood.
Anyway, so that he's there. He's on his phone. Toya's about, David's kind of musing internally about how he can say goodbye to Lily, and all he does, because she's going off to school. Milkshake before school? I don't
Anything
know.
Before school that involves going to a place of business is bizarre to me, because how have you got time?
Exactly. He gives Lily a big hug and says, oh, I love you till the end of time.
Whatever your name is.
Nice one, David. Good luck with the football.
Good luck with whatever your hobby is. I've forgotten again. Is it rugby?
4 hours and counting later, he's in the salon with Audrey. He's like doing his little tour of the characters.
He's doing a bit of a Hayley.
He's doing a bit of a Hayley last one tour of the street. The whole place is dead in the salon, and so he offers to give her a bit of a trim. I thought that was lovely. Nice idea to get him to serve. It was a bit like, Jesus washing his disciples' feet here, wasn't it?
Was it?
Just the same. And she's like, oh, okay, just a little tidy up. And he starts asking her about her holidays and stuff. It's quite fun. And then the conversation takes a bit of a swerve when he asks her about, you remember, Gran, when you had that storyline of your own a couple of years ago where you nearly took your own life? What was going on there then? And she's like, what's up? Is Max? Is he feeling suicidal? And he's like, no, just don't. He starts to get a bit teary, doesn't he? He asked her to put her head down. I don't know whether you want to shave the back of her neck or something. That's what
probably.
That's what the barber tells me to do it for. But yeah, you can see he's getting a bit teary in his eyes because it's a quite difficult and sensitive conversation that he's having. Really, really top performances from Jack and Sue in this scene.
Yeah.
I thought I interrupted you from saying something there. So anyway, she says, look, I'm glad I was found and rescued. All these things I would have missed, like... What? Was this before or after my son was a serial killer? I don't know.
My son being killed, my daughter going to live in France, leaving me alone and sad and telling everybody I didn't have any friends anymore.
Yeah, she just likes the drama, doesn't she? It's like what Blanche said about Gail once, or was it Eileen? I can't remember. She's never happy unless she's got someone's hands round her throat. She just I think it was Eileen. She just likes the drama. Somebody correct me. It probably isn't one of those two. Anyway, the phone rings. It's Max. And this was the editing technique that I probably could have done without on Wednesday, which was this was like 24, wasn't it?
I was about to say, this is probably what made me think of
Corrie
24.
doesn't do this.
Beep.
Corrie flicks
Beep.
from one person to another when they're on the phone.
It was also the time as well.
Yeah,
the time ticking down and the sliding and people talking and...
Yeah. You don't need to have somebody sliding in on the screen with a big, thick black border to divide them in two. I mean, it worked nicely. I liked having Max, and Paddy did a fab job in this scene. He was really, really...
acting.
Really acting before. I don't know.
He did an acting.
Good serious stuff. And Jack, meanwhile, is just reacting to him and getting really, really upset outside the salon. And I've enjoyed the wise persona that Max has occasionally shown.
What
Not the time when he was setting the house on fire, but he kind of made peace with the fact that he's in prison. It's his own fault. He's getting what he deserved, to be honest. He can tell that something's off with David, but David's like, I swear everything's okay, I just miss you. And Max says, look, I know I'm going to be moving away soon. I understand if people can't visit me all the time. Oh, but he's like, I'm really scared though. I had a threatening message from Harvey. And David says, look, everything's going to be all right, Max. You just need to hang on in there. And Max starts to get teary and says he has to go, but he's like, thanks for everything you've done for me, David. And they hang up and a tear falls from David's eye. And it was a really, really sweet little father-son scene. I really, really appreciated that. Top performances all around. I keep saying it. It was a really, really good episode in terms of performances. And script, for sure. So, midday comes. T-minus 60 minutes. No. See, I can't tell the time now. He
wants to die at
120 minutes. 120 minutes.
I think you said 1 earlier, but it's 2.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. He's just downing a few bottles in the Rovers, isn't he?
Okay, I'll tell you what. If I'd be like texting Andy, be like, mate, can we make it 3?
Yeah, I'm having a good time here.
Oh, could we do like 5:30 actually? Because I'm quite hungry now.
Before long, it's 12:58. Proper leathered. Sarah Lou turns up, soon followed by Nick.
Oh, this was one of the things I really liked.
Yeah,
there were so many bits about this episode that were really great. That were like the community feel, the ribbon between the 3 siblings. They're wonderful.
Brilliant. Those 3 together are really
all taking the mick out of each other, and like I think Sarah was Nick was making fun of Sarah because she was boozing, and he was like, I don't drink at blunt or whatever, and it was just really nice.
Yeah, I can't remember. They're making jokes about, oh, look at us, we're just like a normal family, just having a drink together. It was really lovely stuff. Those 3 have got such a special bond. But yeah, David's obviously got other things on his mind. Heads outside and phones up Shona because she'd said before that she can't come, but we now learn where she is, sitting outside the prison.
This was
sitting near a prison sign. I don't think the camera zoomed out of the car because they didn't want to go outside the front of the set today for some reason.
Well, this was also a bit weird because she was like, yeah, I've come to the prison to like go in there and tell everybody but that Harvey's wronging and see if Max is all right, but he's gone already, and I realised that perhaps I can't just complain about Harvey.
Yeah, she wants to.
Like,
she
what
wants
are you
to.
talking about? Look,
She's
just come up with this idea after months of being harassed by a guy. Why don't I just go and tell on him?
Yeah. It's,
that was the
desperate times
solution,
call for desperate measures.
why didn't you
just
think
go
of it
and dob him
before?
into the head teacher.
Like, I tell you what would have been good if maybe there had been a scene before this where maybe Shona convinced David that they should do this and that they will be taken seriously, and so they go to the warden and they tell him, and the warden's like, "Look, if I do anything about Harvey, he's going to kill my."
I think it is. Like, what has the warden done? How much? He lent me a £5 once, and now he's got my kids and my wife in a van somewhere with a gag over their mouth, dangling over a pit of acid. So I've got no choice. My hands are tied. Sorry, Shona.
Sorry,
he's running the place.
Don't even ask Keir Starmer because you wouldn't even believe what he's got on him.
Anyway, David's trying to say, no, look, Shona, just come back. I need to see you. There's no time. Just come on. And she says, no, look, I'm doing it. I'm telling on him. David tries to phone her back, but she doesn't answer because she's too busy going inside. 1:15 comes and David is back at the Red Bank apartment, back at Sarah's apartment, trying to write this goodbye note to Shona, and it's all about how family is important. I hope one day you're going to forgive me for all the stupid things I've done. It's not going well. He's finding it a bit difficult. And then he gives Andy a ring and says...
Should have asked ChatGPT.
He could have done, couldn't he?
I wonder what it would say if you... asked it. I
Plat
think it would...
GPT, that'd be,
wouldn't
it?
I think it would probably help you a bit. I would like to think it wouldn't just help you write a suicide note. That would be a bit dark.
I
think it would give you maybe a phone number to call.
Probably would.
That's a bit dark, but this was a bit of a weird episode.
Anyway, so he said to Andy, "Look, I've shared my location with you, so you can see where I am and when I am." I don't know why they really needed that because he'd already made it clear where he was going to be. But Andy's also looking pretty miserable in the car in the precinct. It's 1:40 by this point, and he doesn't want to do this, but Harvey's got him by the short and curlies. What can I say? Meanwhile, Shona is listening to the voice message that David left her saying that I'm sorting it. You don't need to go into the prison. I love you. She kind of twigs that there's something odd about David's message here, and it's a little bit emotional. And so she phones him back and's like, "David, what on earth have you done?" And he's on Martin's bench in the Victoria Gardens at this point. And he's saying, "Look, don't worry, it's fine. I'm sorting it." We learn that she tried to get into the prison, but she wasn't allowed in. No surprise there. So she's going to head back to the street. He gets up. There's another little camera spinny moment. It's 1:45, T-minus 15 minutes until smackdown. So 1:56 later. Andy's on Rosamund Street. He's watching David walking down from Victoria Gardens, so he can literally see his target coming towards him, walking past him. And he's still a bit sloshed at this point, is David. He staggers onto the street. Andy turns on the motor. David's standing in place. It's all set up as he planned. Shona pulls up, meanwhile, outside of number 8, sees David just standing there in the middle of Rosamund Street outside the medical centre, and she's like, "What's going on?" She starts to go over to them, but just then Andy speeds towards them. But oh no, Daisy's there behind him as well. She's dropped her bag on the floor or something. Does she get hit? She does. David kind of heroically pushes her out the way, doesn't he? But I think she still gets a bump as well. Andy careens into a car that's parked under the viaduct. David and Daisy are left there, lying motionless on the tarmac. What drama?
He's got a bloody
Will they be alive? He's got a proper bloody armpit, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That
was disconcerting.
Yeah. Apparently you got an artery in your armpit. Who knew? Probably everybody.
I don't, because I prefer not to run on blood, because the trouble about blood is that it comes out.
I don't want to know where my major arteries are.
So
it makes me feel a bit icky.
Microwaved everything to keep it nice and tight.
The aftermath of the accident was quite graphic.
It was.
Wasn't it? I suppose.
It was.
Especially, like we were saying, people getting hit by cars are 10 a penny on Coronation Street at the moment. And usually you get none of this. Ow. They just got a little bit of a bruise, or, like a Looney Tunes cartoon. They get up and they got a plaster and an arm in a cast almost.
That's what I'm Shona. Yeah, Shona got hit by... Who was it? Carla. Yeah.
No, she was hit by Daisy.
Daisy, that's it.
Yeah. So...
She just had her arm in a cast for a while. That was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody recently.
I suppose most of the time that people get hit by cars on Coronation Street, it is an accident. But this person was proper gunning for him, and
it's probably the fastest car ever to drive down that road.
Probably is. So anyway, the whole a lot of the community come out. It's not like good old days where absolutely everybody was there, but they did get quite an audience, didn't they? Sarah comes down, Daniel,
a couple of nurses
from the medical centre.
It was her first week of being a nurse, which I
can you imagine lying there bleeding out on the road, and your nurse is saying, "It's my first day. I don't know what I'm doing."
I don't think...
She needs to work on a roadside manner, doesn't she?
I genuinely don't think they just let you be a nurse and I don't think that's how it works. I don't think you are a nurse immediately the first day you start training to be a nurse.
Anyway, look, the bleeding's really bad. Andy, meanwhile, is coming too. Kit ties his belt around David's arm.
He comes to and he's looking around dazed under the viaduct, and he looks to his right and he sees Gemma and Chesney smiling at him, and he's like, "I'm in hell! I've died already!"
He kind of limps off, does Andy, down the ginnel, followed by Nick, who, unsurprisingly, because this guy's just been in a bit of an accident, quickly catches up to him.
Well, Nick's very tall.
Nick is very tall and a very adept runner, isn't he?
Yes, he's fast.
Uses jogging skills here to catch up with Andy.
I call him Speedy Nick.
Speedy Nick, yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to phone the police and dob you in. And Andy's like, "Don't, it's what David wanted." "What?" says Nick. Andy plays Nick the recording of David asking Nick to do it.
You're Nick, you're like, for God's sake.
I quite liked the fact that people found out about this deal quickly and it wasn't a big secret that was kept for a month or so. The fact that Nick and Sarah, the trio, the Kid trio, learned about this. And it's
like Harry, Ron and Hermione
of
Coronation Street.
Yeah. No, except they're related. The fact that there was a trio of characters and it was them and it's nobody could ever find this out. I do kind of like it when the Platts and the Barlows close ranks on these things.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Nick allows Andy to slope off because he realises that he doesn't need him there to let the police know what David's been up to. Meanwhile, in the street, you've got Asher who's turned up to see David, and she's like, "I'm still just a student paramedic, but I can do a better job than you."
It's certainly not my first week.
Certainly not, no. I attended Mason's stabbing the other month, actually. Remember that?
And she's like, "Oh, there's blood coming out of his armpit. That's not supposed to happen."
That's not where blood's supposed to be. I mean, mate, if you've nicked yourself when you're shaving, maybe, but I think that this is looking a bit worse than that. So, later on, David's at hospital. He's gone into PDA. I don't know what that means. But anyway.
Public display of affection, dirty little bugger. You should get kicked out for that.
He's getting his chest compressed. The beginning
he dies. He actually dies.
He's dead. No, he's not. The beginning of the episode, actually... What?
He actually dies for a minute.
Oh, yes, he does for a little bit. They said we've lost him for a bit.
Wasn't there somebody who said
and
this?
We checked down the back of the sofa and found him and popped him back on the stretcher again.
Wasn't there somebody who did this on was it Big Brother or Celebrity Big Brother, who said that their son died or something, and everyone was like really nice to them for weeks until it turned out that he just literally died for a minute and he was actually fine.
Well, it's still a big thing, isn't it?
I know, but there's a bit more context to it, isn't it?
A little bit more, yeah. What I forgot to say about the beginning of the episode was that we also got a few flash forwards, didn't we? In that very first scene with David in the flat and he's doing his monologue and the camera spinning and everything, we do get to see a shot of him bloodied in the operating room or whatever it is, and so we finally got back to that place again. So that was...
Well, yeah, and when I saw it...
I don't know.
Well, no, when I saw it, I just assumed it wasn't David and somebody else was going to be involved in the car crash and it was them.
Oh, they could have done that, couldn't they?
Yeah.
They could, because it wasn't obviously David. We didn't get to see the Tina tattoo or anything to ID the body. Anyway... He's at the hospital. He's in a bad way. Meanwhile, Sarah's with Toya in the flat, being a bit of a worrywart. Toya says, "It's going to be fine," and she goes off and leaving Sarah to get up and find David's suicide note. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, what's the pillock done now?"
No, she doesn't.
No.
She gasps. I think there's, again, really great performance here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tina O'Brien, just
they're
consistently
all of these
reliable.
Are great. I mean, what else do you expect from this?
Consistent. Asher, you got at the hospital telling Shona that David's getting a transfusion, I think, isn't he?
Asher must be sick of this. Why am I always doing this? Why am I always here telling people that I live near some horrible news about... and also, here's my question, and this is probably why I haven't dedicated my life, like many of you worthy people, to be like do a vocation, like being a doctor or a teacher or a nurse or something. Yeah. I'd be like, sorry, I can't talk. I'm going to clock in because I'm getting paid for this. This is ridiculous. I'm not coming into work tomorrow.
Ash is just telling Shona that they're doing everything they can, and Shona's like, oh my gosh, I can't lose him. Audrey and Nick, meanwhile, are arriving at Sarah's flat. Audrey just needs to sit down because she's had this bad news, and Sarah says, how was David earlier? Not like his normal self, Audrey admits, and she says, he was asking me about when I tried to take my own life, and Sarah says, yeah, I think David was trying to top himself today. I think that he was doing this on purpose. And she passes her the note, and then Nick, who's there as well, kind of ties it all together by saying, yeah, I spoke to Andy, and it's true, David planned this all along. So at this point, we've got the whole of the Platt clan, apart from Gail. I mean, Gail's probably still doesn't even know about the house burning down at this point, does she? Because they were keeping that from her. They didn't want to spoil her little holiday in France.
It's not a holiday, it's a new life.
Gail is just sunning herself on the beach somewhere in Saint-Tropez at this point, isn't she? With a martini in her hand.
Eating ratatouille.
Yeah. She's got no idea. And
honestly, she wouldn't care if she did know.
See, I think
she might not my problem anymore.
It's odd that they decided to have the family have all this drama at a moment where there's no way that Helen Worth is going to be coming back to the street anytime soon. When in real life, she probably would.
Like it would have been prudent to have given it a bit of a, breathing room, or maybe had this before she left. Why have it immediately? Like literally, as soon as she left, it just went to pot.
Yeah. And it just goes to show that she might not have been in it much, but Gail was clearly the glue that held that family together all this time. It's what she said all along.
They're pretty potty beforehand.
Nick and Audrey and Sarah are wondering whether they should tell Shona about all this or not.
That was a play on her
I know, Gail Potter. It's nice. I get it. So we're going to keep the secret from Shona. What on earth could go wrong about this? Surely she'll never find out. Let's at least wait to see what David's got to say about it first.
When his armpit gets better.
When his armpit gets plugged. So they're at the hospital later with Shona, and she still can't figure out what this driver must have been thinking. Nick nearly slips up by saying the driver was drunk, but he manages to save himself by saying, he must have been drunk. I don't know. Shona talks about David being a bit off with her earlier as well. Was he making an arrangement with one of Harvey's cronies? Were they supposed to meet? Why would he tell me that they're running out of time? She's kind of partly putting it together here, but she doesn't quite get to it.
No, because it's a really crazy...
Who would think of this?
Stupid plan.
Who would...
You would go, oh, it's not that.
Obviously not that. He's not an idiot. Anyway, Audrey and Nick and Sarah are saying, well, we really should tell her at some point, but maybe not now because she's already possibly going to be losing it. So, end of the episode, Sarah gets back to the flat, and we by this point we know that David's pretty much going to be all right. Sarah takes out the note, reads it again. This is when the music starts. This is when we get the montage.
Can't believe it.
We get Shona with David at the hospital. We got Audrey and Nick waiting in the waiting room. We got Jenny watching as Daniel there has his head in his hands. More about this later. This is when Daniel's maybe getting a bit of sad news. But it was quite an effective ending to the episode. But I just put music in an episode, and I'm just like, I can't take it seriously.
No, I'm not interested.
Friday, what's going on then? Things looking good for David. He wakes up. Shona tells him what's happened. His first words are, where's Max? In Durham, in isolation, Shona says. He's fine. He's not in tonight's episode. He's sorted. He's even isolated from the viewers at this point. David says, look, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for everything. And Shona's like, no, you've got nothing to worry about. You saved Daisy's life, you know. So she heads out of the room to tell Lily. I don't think we've seen... Again, has Lily been in it this week? I can't remember.
Well, yeah, she was there.
She was there with the thugs at the tram stop, wasn't she?
She was
on
having
Monday?
a milkshake.
Yeah, and that's right, the milkshake scene as well. But she's not been to visit her old dad in hospital at any point. Interesting choice. Anyway, Nick and Sarah are left alone with David at this point to tell him, we know this was a setup. You utter plonker. What on earth have you been doing? Explain yourself. Audrey knows about it as well. Stupid plan, says Nick. He's getting really quite ratty about it. I don't blame him. He just wants to have a normal life, settle down, run in his bistro.
It is
Toya, have a nice drink of wine at the end of the day, and his family just attract drama and
It's
ridiculousness, and he's too old for this.
It's like being related to a lemming.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
At this point.
You throw yourself off another cliff again, honestly. Just
there's only so much
walk the other direction.
I can really care about this.
Yeah.
After a while.
Stupid
just
idiot,
keep
David.
doing it.
He says, he tells David, I stopped Andy. He told me not to go to the police. And Sarah says, look, we just need to close ranks here. We need to lie. And David's like, there's definitely no way that Shona can ever know this mystery. Because if there's one thing that I've learned throughout the whole of this is that it's absolutely fine to keep secrets hidden from my wife. What could possibly go wrong there? So Audrey pops by later and says, you've been really lucky. Then Kit shows up because he wants a word with David. They've identified the driver. They've identified it's Andy on CCTV footage. Andrew Garland. That's interesting, Mr. Platt. That's the guy that you tried to use as an alibi for the fire the other week when you were supposedly just out with him. Why would he want you to run you over then, hey? He's your mate.
Kit, you ask too many questions.
Yeah. David just plays the I'm woozy, I've just woken up for a coma card. And he's like, I don't remember, I don't know anything.
Look,
sorry, can't help you, officer.
Kit, you're new, okay? You're new around here. But what you need to understand is that there's never going to be any coincidences. There's never going to be a random person involved. There's always going to be some main character that runs you over.
Yeah.
So it's not a coincidence, it's just a normal part of the story.
That's a good question. How many of Coronation Street's car accidents has the driver been a main character?
I actually don't think that many.
Do you not?
Really?
I think it's going to be quite a high proportion. You know, looking back, Tony Horrocks ran Joyce Medley down. It was... Oh, no, actually, the one that ran... what's his face? Adam down the other year. Was
there's quite a few of random people, but... It's 50-50, I think.
50-50. Sometimes, half the time it's Carla that's drunk behind the wheel, isn't it? Let's be honest. I'm surprised that the police didn't go around her flat and say, just checking it's not you this time, Carla, love. No, you just come out from your kidney operation. Well, I hear Rob Donovan. That hasn't stopped Rob Donovan going off to Brighton, apparently. But anyway, David said, I don't know anything about it, Kit. Sorry, can't help you there. And this is the point when Shona starts grilling David. She smells a rat here. She thinks that there's something not quite right. Did you know that this was going to happen? She asked. Did you know that Andy was, that Andy was going to run you over? And Dave's like, fair cop, you got me, wife. I think I'm going to tell you the truth. And she cannot believe what she's hearing at this point. He's trying to defend this stupid plan of his, but it is pretty indefensible. It's a ridiculous notion to arrange for yourself to get hit by a car just so that the
it's like, no,
villain
Shona,
in the prison can stop hunting down your family.
It makes perfect sense because you got a guy who needs to kill somebody and a guy who needs to die, and they're both in debt to the same bloke. It makes sense.
Total sense, Shona. You understand. Shona comes up with a bit of a brainwave at this point. She's like, I think we just need to get the money to pay him off.
Do you know what I think we should do?
Yeah. Fortunately, the shake of the money tree has shook, or the money tree is shaken in her direction at the moment, or at least somebody tangential to her direction, because she found out earlier this week that Daisy is feeling a bit flush with all the money that she's got. Was it Audrey that told her? So Shona found out, I think, from Audrey that Daisy is currently in possession of the money that Stephen stole from Carla. It doesn't really matter, Shona says, but Daisy's got a bundle of cash. She needs cash. I'm going to get it.
She's got the money that Daniel gave her to replace the money that she stole of Stephen.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That Stephen stole of Carla. So
Perfectly
this is just like...
And somebody needs to draw me a diagram of this transfer of funds in Coronation Street. But
this week we had the magical money tree, and last week we had the testicle fairy. God knows what we're going to have next week. Like, Bigfoot coming to, I don't know, buy the pub.
I think that maybe the testicle fairy lives in the magic money tree.
Probably. It's like, can you stop shaking it, please? Because every time you come out, I'll give one of you cancer.
Does the testicle fairy take the testicles to the tree? And if you sit underneath it, you might have a testicle land on your head.
Oh, and then you invent gravity.
Anyway, so Shona's plan is to go to Daisy, and this is, at this point, the storylines really do merge. I think I've done a fairly good job of separating the Daisy stuff with the David stuff. But yeah, she strides into Daisy's room. He's had a bit of bad news, more on that later, and says, Daisy, I know you got a load of cash, gimme. Yeah. I need it. I'm desperate. And if you say no, I might just become a little bit loose-lipped about that whole you hit me with a car last year thing. So she's got her under her finger. And Daisy is like,
Daisy's broken at this point.
More blackmail. What am I going to do?
I love
Daisy
blackmail.
is in a bit of a... She's not in any position to fight back at this point.
No.
So basically, Daisy decides,
Just
fair
have it then.
dues, I'm going to give you my money. And the last thing that we see of the David Shona side of the story on today's episode is Shona getting a text message from Daisy saying, cash is yours, basically. So there we go.
So this is not money that she owes her. This
No.
is just blackmail money again.
This is proper blackmail money.
Are we going to talk about this part of the story later with the Daisy? I think it's probably a good
let's
idea.
talk about that story like that. I think we've kind of said everything that we need to say about this story already as we've been going. I think listeners know what we thought about it. But yeah, that tweet you read earlier about it being a really great execution of a really iffy idea is absolutely right.
Yeah.
I still find myself quite compelled. I'm surprised that David kind of came out of his slumber
Sleeping.
quite so quickly. I was thinking that they might give him a couple of weeks in a coma or something.
But it was kind of at the end of so after all the medical stuff we have last week, we ended this week with another 2 major characters both in hospital.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Just checking. I didn't dream it.
Do you think that this could be the end of the Harvey storyline? Because if she gets this money, and I think she did say that has she transferred it?
£40,000?
Something like that. If she gets this money and she pays Harvey off, is he going to go, thank you very much, pleasure doing business with you, and literally call off everything?
I don't see why.
David was saying to Andy, he's going to hold this over you forever.
Well,
The only way out of this that I can see is if Harvey and his entire criminal network die themselves, and that ain't happening. Corrie seems to have written themselves into a corner. Either that, or it'll just be a case of, don't worry, it's over now, let's move on.
I do think it will be everything's over, but to point out, the issue here would be that Andy is the one in trouble because he hasn't paid the money back and he hasn't done what he was supposed to do, and he's also now on the run.
Yeah, I don't... Although they were trying to develop Andy's character this week, I'm not completely convinced that we will
See him again.
get to see him again.
Well,
I'd quite like to, but I am ready, and I have been ready for a while for the gangster side of the story to end. So maybe we are close to it. I don't know. Or maybe it's going to run for another 6 months. I can't tell at the moment.
I hope this is over because I just find it very boring. Harvey. I
and
never
his
want to hear
goons.
that name again, honestly. But now we've opened another can of worms with this money because that's not... So that's Daniel's money that he's given to Daisy to pay Carla off. So now she's not paid Carla off.
No.
And she's also been blackmailed by Shona. And she didn't owe Shona 40 grand. There was no real reason to give her 40 grand.
No.
And, her life is, as she knows it, is over anyway. So at this point, wouldn't you just say whatever?
And Jenny and Daisy,
her money.
Jenny and Daisy are still in a massive hole here, aren't they?
They still owe Carla this money, and now Daniel is going to be annoyed.
Yeah.
So this money problem has just been transferred to another group of people that already had the problem. So it's just double down on that. But I think what I would love to do is to create some kind of communist manifesto for Coronation Street, whereby everybody needs to stop having these little dragon hoards of money that come out when the story needs it. Because everybody seems to just have pockets of... And it always seems to be around the same amount of money. It's not just like, oh yeah, I've got 500 quid in a savings account. It's like I've got vast sums of tens of thousands of pounds. And that's funny because I need vast sums of tens of thousands of pounds. Well, why don't you just give it to me? Because I know a secret about you. Damn it. Okay, well, here you go. It's like that has been the story on Coronation Street for years now.
I know.
There are so many blackmail stories and so many I need money instantly storylines.
Look, let's go on to it. Do you want to... Oh, go on.
The only other thing I was going to say was about Max and his plan, which I was going to mention earlier, but we moved on too quickly. Like, Max's plan was to get the insurance money from the house burning down to give to Harvey. What did he think the money was for that the insurance company gives you?
Well, they could have just moved to another
house. How did he think that they were going to get over the big issue, which was that the house was burned down and that they didn't have any way to build it up. Because the thing
Max
is,
didn't think.
Max didn't think about it, but also once the house is burned down, you can't just go, oh, I'll just carry on paying the mortgage for that for 30 years and hope that
Bless him, he's young.
Hope that the council don't come down on me, because it's basically an abandoned wreck.
Oh, poor Max. Look, don't kick him when he's down, Gemma. Let's move the Daisy, the pub storyline. Do you want to run down this bit? And run down. That's also a unfortunate choice of words there, wasn't it? Well, so we start off on Monday, and it's Jenny's birthday, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jenny,
she
happy returns.
Had a very sad week.
Yeah.
Started off on a high. And
Rita was in it. First appearance of the year for old Rita.
In the bar.
Yeah.
Glenda comes, gives her a risque pop-up card, which is fun.
I like Rita. That's what she says. Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen one of those. I don't know whether she was talking about what it was popping up in the risque card or whether it was just a greetings card because she doesn't work in the cabin anymore. So.
Yeah, Daisy comes in and there's suddenly an atmosphere immediately because they're still feuding.
Yeah. And
she hasn't even bought her a card and she didn't even remember it was her birthday. So instead of giving her a birthday card, Daisy presents Jenny with some documents to transfer the deeds of the pub over to her and Daniel.
Yeah, she says that you can sign it or stamp it with your cloven hoof.
Bit rude. And Glenda's like, look, you need to start rebuilding bridges and buy Jenny a card. So she goes off and gets one. And Daniel comes in and I can't remember who says this, but somebody tells him to watch Daisy because she's a bit sly. Maybe it's Rita, maybe it's Glenda. And then she also reminds him that maybe it's Jenny. Yeah, it might be Jenny, actually. Well, she says that, do you remember that...
You know, listeners, you watched it.
Do you remember that... she was carrying on with Ryan behind your back. Don't forget about that.
Oh, yeah.
And Daniel's like, well, I trust her now. So there's that. By the end of the week, she's stolen 40 grand off him. So he's a terrible judge of character as well as being a terrible person. Daisy and Jenny carry on arguing. And Daisy's like, I'm sick of you sticking your beak in things. Mind your own business. And Jenny says, I do it for the best. I just try my hardest. And Daisy says that Daniel and the baby are the only thing she cares about. And then... Jenny says, well, it's not his baby, is it? She gets very, very drunk in the bar later and Kit comes in and joins her. Before long, she invites him into the back.
This was icky, I thought.
She starts slagging Daisy off and then tries to drag him upstairs.
What on earth? Jenny Bradley, come on. Sort yourself out. Have a word with yourself, missus. Don't go getting your stepdaughter's cast-offs, thank you very much.
Well, he says no thank you, and she starts to say, look, you don't listen to Daisy, you don't listen to a word she says. What do you mean, he says. She immediately clams up and sits on the sofa and hugs her bottle of alcohol and is like,
yes,
just don't ask me any more
She's revealed a little bit too much here, hasn't she? Well, were you worried that Kit and Jenny would end up in bed together, or do you ship them?
I don't know.
What was your thoughts on that unexpected development?
Nothing would surprise me at this point, to be honest with you.
That Jenny will have anyone, won't she?
It
Stephen,
didn't seem
Ronnie,
like a smart idea.
Teddy, Leo,
especially
everybody.
Considering that she knows that's Daisy's bad baby daddy.
Yeah. I
mean, it would be one thing if she knew she didn't, that baby wasn't his, but that is super complicated now because you'd be the step mother of the daughter and the...
It's too confusing, isn't it? It's
child.
not worth it. I really hope that we don't... I really hope there is no chance of them getting it on. This better not have been a little tease of what is to come.
Well, you know what Kit's like.
He'll definitely... He's
fine for
anyone.
If
it's wearing a skirt.
I think maybe he's learned his lesson.
Yeah. This Wednesday was still very... Monday was still very much reckless Jenny, but I really did enjoy seeing her getting sobered up fast on Wednesday after the accident happened. She was super. She was back on form from Wednesday and Friday.
They're still off with each other, aren't they, on Wednesday?
Yes.
And Kit comes into the pub because Jenny's been messaging him saying, I need to talk to you about last night. And he says, look, it's fine, nothing happened, don't worry about it. Turns to Daniel and says, has Daisy proven to you that you're the actual dad? Because I would want to see the actual proof. And this gets a little, it gets into Daniel's head. And so when Daisy comes in, he says, am I really the dad? Do you have proof? Why is Kit asking me about this? And Kit says, I'm only saying what Jenny said.
Jenny didn't quite reveal it, but it feels...
She's the same as what she did with Daniel telling him he was the dad.
I might have appreciated maybe even just like one scene of Kit putting it together with someone, because we went from her heavily hinting to him seemingly
Yeah, I know, but how
knowing.
much time do we... This is the trouble with it, because we all knew. We all know.
I'm surprised, actually, that Bernie is pretty absent through all of this. Because, you know, as Kit's mum, as potential granny in the wings here, you'd think that maybe she would be...
More involved.
Yeah.
Well,
and
he
even
he told Gemma, didn't he, that he wasn't the dad?
Yeah. Unbeknownst to Bernie, she's lost a grandchild this week.
Yeah.
When's that going to come out? Is it? Or is she not important enough to this story?
Don't think anyone cares.
But I bet Jane Hazelgrove would do a fantastic job at that. And
This is
she's
what I
not
mean.
someone that you want to have as your enemy. I'm still waiting. Surely this is a development waiting to come for somebody to put two and two together and say David is responsible for this child's death.
I think that will come.
That's bound to happen.
But
David is going to have everybody against him, certainly Daisy, because it's not going to be kept a secret, is it? Jenny's going to be, should be coming after David. Bernie should be coming after David. Kit has already been an enemy of David at some point. So, yes, it's over from Harvey, possibly, if Shona pays him off. But he's going to have everybody after, or sort of on his back, because it is his fault, isn't it? Or is it Andy's fault?
No, it's David's fault. And Cassidy will be there going, yeah, he's terrible, everyone. Turn on him. What a nasty man he is. Let's
What do you think, Ken?
Shun.
Yeah. And I wonder how much guilt David will feel from this, because does he know? I can't remember at the end of this episode whether he knows that Daisy's lost the baby. Yet. I mean, it's not filling me with joy to know that there's a lot more kind of misery and self-pity and self-blaming coming from David. It's not the most cheerful prospect.
At the moment, the only people that know that it wasn't an accident are the Platts.
Yeah.
And so if they keep it to themselves, then there's no problem. But, I mean...
we all know these things have got a habit of getting out, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing with it all is, of course, people will turn on David 6-12 months down the line. He'll be at centre of the community again, supping a pint in the Rovers. Everyone will have forgiven him. Just like, Peter and Billy were happily exchanging pleasantries by the end of it, even after one of them caused the other one to fall off a cliff. It's all fine. They're very forgiving sort in Weatherfield. It just takes them a little while sometimes to get there.
Yes.
Because it's plot convenient. Because if everybody bore a grudge for everything that anyone had ever done to them, any time that anyone would wrong them, they'd all hate each other's guts.
Yeah. They'd all just be not speaking to each other.
Yeah.
So, Daniel's asking if he is really the father.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's where we were.
Daniel. And Daniel says, swear on the baby's life that I'm the father. And she's like, oh gosh, I can't lie. On the baby's life.
I think Daisy's not been the one that's been wanting to keep the secret, though, is it? She's been coerced into it by Daisy. She's been Jenny. Sorry, she's been guilted with the thought of, I could get the pub back, everything could be okay. You've just got to keep the secret for the rest of your life. She's not wanted to do it.
You're right. This is like, well, yeah, fair cop.
Yeah.
So Jenny and Daisy start bickering. And Jenny's like, I need the money to pay you back. Yeah,
Jenny's found this out later.
I can't remember.
This is how. Oh yeah, this is right. This is how Sarah Lou finds out about the money side of thing, that they'd got the money off of Stephen, who'd stolen it off.
Jenny and Daisy are bickering, and Jenny says, I need the money to pay back what we stole from Carla, and Sarah hears them.
Yeah. And
she's like, oh, Bethany knew she was right about this. That time that she was investigating that, and we forgot about it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Kit and Daniel, how they reacted to the fact that she revealed this. Probably like
not well. It all comes out in the pub later, doesn't it?
Crying.
The truth is out, and this is what made Daisy end up walking out into the street
and get run over by a car.
Yes.
So she goes...
Storylines collide.
She goes into the road and she drops her bag, and then she does this like kind of jaunty turn to pick it up, and David pushes her. Not fast enough. She gets hit by the car.
Most of the aftermath of the crash was on David, wasn't it? Because be fair to him, he was in a bit of a worse way than Daisy.
Well, poor
But
Daisy is
says
only concerned about the baby.
Yeah, she's scuffed up in the face, isn't she? But yeah, she's worried about the.
So
the
she's
kiddo.
like, I think Kit comes over, doesn't he? He really should have been trying to run the suspect down like Nick was, but because he's too concerned about Daisy and the baby, now he knows it's his baby. So she's like, what about the baby? What about the baby? They get to the hospital and she has a test and they hear the heartbeat. And they're like, okay, everything's fine.
Yeah, she has an ultrasound. This was a bit of a surprise moment for me. Going into this week, did you, knowing that Daisy was going to get hit by a car, did you think that the baby would be a goner this week? Or did you think that maybe there was a chance that she was keeping it?
No, I thought, as soon as I saw that Daisy was in this car crash, I was like, well...
Is it a convenient end to the Who's the Daddy
story?
Well,
this is what she accuses Daniel of saying, so don't even go down that route.
Sorry, Daisy. You're right.
So she's still worried that the baby could be hurt, and they kind of poo-poo it, don't they?
Yeah, they say
and
it's
Jenny's like,
fine.
don't worry about it.
But I was a little surprised on... When we heard the heartbeat,
very...
because I was assuming that the baby was going to be gone, but they just wanted to drag it out for a little bit longer. They just wanted to keep on the false hope.
It seems so cruel that you could get to the stage where you hear the heartbeat and then later something happens.
Yeah, I know.
And it's still an effect of the crash.
Yeah.
It's horrific.
I felt
so sorry
awful
for
Daisy.
Daisy. This was awful. This was so heart-wrenching. She was such a great, performer, Charlotte Jordan, this week. With these scenes, so fantastic. What a great! I mean, this is what I mean about this week. There was some really great, harrowing, interesting, thought-provoking, great performances. Just the actual story and the idea about where the story was going. It's just insane.
Yeah,
it's kind of Anyway, so Daniel starts to go, and he's like, "Whoa, I'll tell Kit that his baby's okay." And Daisy's like, "Sorry, I really didn't want Kit to be the dad. I wanted it to be you." This was also terrible as well, because she feels like she's losing everything anyway.
Yeah.
So she's such a fantastic actress. They come and take her into the theatre because she needs another poke about.
She wants to go and see Peter Ash on stage.
Yeah.
Doesn't she?
Oh, she comes back and it's devastating. She didn't like it. So she says to Daniel that I love you, and
he's saying that Kit should know about this, and Jenny kind of sidles up to him at the end and says, he should know, which is a bit of a change of heart from Jenny, who was determined to keep this a secret from him, keep this lie going forever. Yeah,
damage control. Who do I need to suck up to? Like,
yeah,
I felt sorry for Jenny too.
We haven't really seen any scenes of Jenny being ashamed for encouraging this deception.
This is the thing about this kind of story, is that they really have got weeks worth of drama that they could get out of almost all the characters involved. We could have. There just isn't time, and I don't think they will, because next week I assume that there's going to be a bomb at the cabin.
No, Rob's skulking around the prima donna, isn't he?
Rob set a bomb at the cabin because he's always held a grudge against Rita. So anyway, Daniel goes to the pub. Kit lets him in. Daniel pours himself a whiskey. He tells him that Daisy and the baby are fine, and Kit's just blank. He's like, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't even know whether it is my baby at this point. Like, what do I can't think about this. I don't know what. I haven't got the headspace. And Daniel's like, well, you better make some. And then he goes back to the hospital. Kit doesn't go with him. So Daniel gets back and joins Jenny, and a doctor comes in and says, can I talk to you privately? And then, I don't know why, because she just goes outside and comes back in and says, what does she say?
I thought that Sal did a great job as like worry and fear, and
maybe it was...
kind of knowing that there was bad news being delivered there. I think that Robin and Sal were at race in that scene.
Oh yeah. Maybe it was just symbolic of like she's being shut out.
It was the fact that it was the silent conversation. Sometimes they can be really effective, can't they? The viewer doesn't need to know what's being said here. It's kind of obvious, and the silence and the character's kind of silent reaction to it.
Well, it's also really
almost
hard.
as effective as any dialogue could be.
Well, it's more effective to have Daniel tell Jenny than it is to have the doctor tell them both.
Yeah.
So when Jenny comes back in, Daniel says they think that she's got an abruption in her placenta, and they think that she's lost the baby, but they don't know until tomorrow when they do another ultrasound, and I'm not going to tell her until they've checked.
I didn't really understand why they couldn't just do an ultrasound then.
Don't ask me.
Is the machine need a
No,
cranking up or something?
Look, I don't. There's not.
There must have been a reason, because if it's something that's quite vital to know, is there a human life in here?
Some things need time, and this is hard because I know with the David stuff, I found it too fantastical to really think that. It feels too fantastical to be emotionally affecting to me. I found it more interesting that how they did it, and I thought, admired the performances. But with this story, because I know that this is something that people that are listening might have experienced, this is something that happens every day to women all across the world. This was just really hard to watch, and there was nothing this was just complete drama, tragedy, just and so well performed as well. And it's kind of interesting that it happened in the same, like the episode after what we had on Wednesday, which was just very, very eccentric, and then Friday was like completely the most down to earth, real tragic, like human tragedy. So on Friday, Shona asks Daniel how they are, and he doesn't say anything and about the baby, and Jenny asks him why, and he says, well, I think that Daisy should be the first to know if anything's happened. So when she wakes up, immediately Jenny starts crying because she's like, oh good, at least the baby's okay, and Jenny's just crying. I just felt so bad for all of them, especially, well, not especially Jenny, but Jenny too, because she must be feeling so bad about this, because part of the reason why Daisy walked out of the pub was because they were all having a fight. I
think everybody has got the potential to do a bit of self-blaming for this.
But this is one of those moments where you just think, if I had been a second later, if I'd done this differently, if I had not done that, and you kind of go back and think, why didn't I just stop? Why didn't I
what ifs can eat you up.
Yeah. So Daniel has to tell her.
But really it's David's fault, isn't it? Coming up with a ridiculous plan. Yeah. Just blame David. Point the finger at him.
So Daniel tells her that she needs another ultrasound because they're worried, and she says no, that's not right, because the baby had a heartbeat. There was a heartbeat. So I think you're wrong. I think you're confused. I think you've misunderstood something. Yeah. And he's like, no. So later on, they find out that it has actually happened, and the doctor talks her through what's going to happen. And it is one of these horrific things that women have to deal with, whereby our biology is just so much. I'm sorry, but you guys have got such an easy ride in your lives that this stuff does not. You don't have to think about any of this. This is just horrific, because I'm not even going to get into the details because I think this might be triggering to some people. So there's a process, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be difficult. And Daniel, she's crying, and Daniel hugs her. And I think she turns on him eventually, because she's like, oh, how convenient for you that, this baby you didn't even want, and now we can be together as you're just glad, aren't you?
That's the end of the episode, isn't it? Because he says in the last scene, well, now let's put all this behind us.
Yes, what and
a
it's just you and me.
It's not heartless. What
do you mean it's not heartless? Her baby is dead.
I think it's possibly a natural thing to say, but he didn't mean it like that. But I can totally see somebody, especially somebody like Daniel, making that mistake and saying it and saying, no, I didn't mean that. He clearly didn't mean it. He's not glad that the baby's dead.
I think he is.
He's not. He's clearly not.
Really? He was mad when he found out.
I know, but he loves
He's been
Daisy.
He
loves Daisy. He doesn't want her to have gone through this.
He's a psychopath, honestly, because he is a psychopath, because he's like, oh, even Daisy lied to him, and basically she and Jenny tried to steal all of Bertie's money. But as long as she's okay and she's not having someone else's baby, then it's fine. Do you not think that that's a bit psychotic?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think if he had found out that it was, I think he would have left her. If she still had kept the baby, I think honestly he was going to leave her. But because the baby has died, he's fine with it now, and that is kind of sick.
He is.
It's not kind of sick; it is sick.
I know.
And he's just like, and it
was just his choice of words. Maybe they could have come
to terms with it. Maybe she could have come to terms with it over a period of, mourning the loss of this child. Because when, even when Kit comes in, she says to him, "You would have been a great dad," and Daniel's like, "Oh."
He does a great eye roll, doesn't he?
And that made me feel so bad for her all over again, because she didn't have to say that.
No.
And when Daniel rolls his eyes, you can tell he's thinking, "Oh, how inconvenient it would have been, because I would have had to..."
Is he not gone yet?
Well, he was probably thinking to himself, I got out of that one because I would have had to spend the rest of my life, or as long as I spent with Daisy, having to see Kit, so Kit could see the baby. I got, dodge that bullet. At least the baby's not here to be inconvenient to me.
I know, but maybe I'm just empathising with Daniel as someone who also sometimes says things that then you quite rightly point out might be seen as being a little bit thoughtless. But I don't mean it at the time.
I know, yeah, but I understand you say things because you don't think about them. But I don't find that, well, sometimes I do think it's a bit callous because you don't actually think about other people. But, Daniel has just got a proven track record of being an absolute, selfish scumbag.
He's not a scumbag. He's just really, really thoughtless. And he's got his head in the clouds and his nose in the air. Make your mind
up. Is he glad the baby is dead or not? Because you keep letting him off and going, "Oh no, he just said the wrong thing." Because
he knows.
Has he said the wrong thing, or has he said exactly what he thinks and he shouldn't have said it? Because those are two different things.
He was saying, "Now we've got Kit behind us. Now Kit's not in the picture."
Yeah, why? Why is that then?
That's the thing, isn't it? He was just thinking of Kit.
He doesn't care about this baby. He's happy.
I think that he would have happily. I think if he could have kept Daisy, I think he would have come to terms with raising.
But can you not see how that's sick as well? That's sick because he would have spent 18 years with a child in his house that he was perfectly happy that could have died, and he would have been a big phew.
Yeah.
I think Daisy was right here to be calling him out on it. I mean, if she had been, I just.
The question is what's she going to be like on Monday? Has he totally blown his chances with her for good now? I don't know. Or was it just an end of a Friday episode cliffhanger to take us into the weekend? Because so often on Corrie, people will be like, it's one of these "I'll never talk to you again" moment, and the next episode is like, right, might have overreacted a little bit. Is Daisy going to say that she overreacted? Maybe not, because it was, like you said, a bit of an unintentionally arsey thing for Daniel to say.
It's not arsey.
But I think she does still love Daniel, and I think that
Michael,
she can still forgive him for saying that.
But there are some things that you can say to somebody that just immediately goes, that's it. Whatever I felt for you is gone, because nobody I loved could have ever said anything that callous.
It might be a wake-up call for her to think, even if I did forgive him now, who's to say he's not going to do or say something just as thoughtless in the future? So possibly she's going to kick him to the curb on Monday for good, I don't know. But he's going to be there trying to smarm his way back and grovel. That certainly seems to be...
He's just a scum.
He's not scum. He's just thoughtless.
You've written this. Daisy tells Daniel she's going to give the money to Daisy.
Shona.
So she's told Daniel, I'm taking 40 grand of your money and I'm giving the rest back to you.
Yeah.
Why is he okay with this?
Because he loves her.
Is he loaning this to her?
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't think we need to really keep track of this money.
I think it will come out again next week.
Yeah.
But so Carla's still not got this money now. So Carla's not got the money.
No.
Jenny's not got the money. Daniel's got some of the money. Shona's taken the blackmail money. Is Carla going to come after Shona? I don't know.
I don't know.
This is all very
At the end
weird.
of the day, it's still Jenny and Daisy who owe Carla the money. They're the ones that stole it, so they're in a massive hole again when Carla finds out that she's not got this money coming.
So nobody
to her
wants to lend them any money then.
Well,
why doesn't Daniel lend them the money?
I don't know. I'm sure they'll sort it out in the end, because there's only so long this story can drag on.
Are you a bit sick of people? I know we complain.
Yes,
listen, I know we complain about hospital scenes and police scenes and gangster stuff, but is it not just tedious? This continual kind of it's like the water cycle of money on Coronation Street. It just goes round in a big circle, around and around and around. It gets evaporated into somebody's bank balance, and then it rains down on somebody else, and then it goes into a river and flows off somewhere into a gangster's pocket. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what? Everybody owes I'm sick and tired of money stuff.
Yeah, they just need to settle all their debts and be done with it. Otherwise, they're going to have Rick Newman's ghost come after them.
We've had the same money thing for like 2 years now, haven't we? Was it a year? Over a year? Stephen died in... Not last year, the year.
Yeah, that was a year and a half ago.
And that was when he stole the money off Carla, and then Jenny and Daisy stole the money off him, and then Carla found out. Oh my God!
At least they have brought it back, because we were wondering only a couple of months ago whether it had just been quietly shoved under the carpet that Carla owns the pub.
We were only interested in the story because it made Carla the de facto owner of the Rovers, and we thought there was going to be some cool tension between the three women as they battled it out as to who was the true top bitch at the Rovers. Not because I really was invested in seeing, how Daniel was going to take it out of Bertie's bloody junior ISO and stick it into Daisy's slot. I'm sick of money stuff.
Right, look, let's move on to the stories. So they were the big ones for this week. They had their highs and lows for sure, and everything else was very much C-tier material. So we got Dylan the villain chilling in prison with Brody and the broccoli bunch there, and he gets another warning from Brody in prison to stop sucking up to the teacher. We did see Daniel in prison on Monday, didn't we? He's offering to give Dylan some one-to-one tutoring sessions, not realising, I suppose, that the rest of the broccoli bunch are there listening in and realising, well, they're just getting more ammunition to take out on Dylan, really, aren't they, about what a teacher's pet he is. And he's on the phone to Sean later as Dylan, saying, "Oh, you need to get Daniel to back off. I'm losing all my street cred here behind bars. Can you? I don't want him here."
Daniel probably. I tell you what, they need to keep him away from Sister Act 2. If Daniel watches Sister Act 2 and gets back in that prison, he's going to start a choir. He's going to have them all singing to reform themselves.
Didn't he have... was he the one that was in charge of the choir when they were doing the Christmas... the Christmas on the Cobbles thing, and they were singing the rude version of one of the Christmas carols about Daniel. I can't remember what it was now, though. Do you remember what I'm talking about? I'm not making it up. Anyway, outside of Dylan's cell, we got Brody and the boys laughing about how Brody's got Dylan wrapped around his little finger. And he's still doing it on Friday. There's a lot of, on Friday, him making Dylan feel a bit intimidated
and testing him out,
and testing him, and then going, I'm only joking. Yeah. But actually he is. He's wearing Dylan down, basically, and getting him exactly where he wants him. He gets him to come and do the post with him later, handing out packages of whatever, and he's like, "Oh, we should swipe some, shouldn't we?" No, only kidding, they're watching us. I'm not into stuff like that. What are you into? And Dylan's like, "I don't do drugs." And Brody's like, "Oh, you think I would? You think I'm into drugs as well? How dare you? I wouldn't offer you that." "Nah, I'm only kidding. I can get you a can of Coke." So yeah, he's seen Dylan's weakness and has taken full advantage of it. And I'm sure it won't be long before he's having Dylan doing his bidding in much the same way that Mason did. Because Dylan was again. Mason's little lackey, wasn't he? He's very easily manipulated into doing the wrong thing.
He's like being bullied in a very roundabout way.
Yeah, he's been coerced, isn't he?
Yeah.
Get Alia onto that. She's an expert.
Oh, she is not an expert. She thought that having a job was being coerced.
So there wasn't a whole much for this story. The main talking point that I saw on the internet was, I think it was Brody who said it.
Yes, it was.
Was it? that his parents have just moved to Weatherfield. Because he's like, oh, what, Dylan, you're from Weatherfield, are you? I mean, I assumed that this prison was in Weatherfield. How far is Daniel commuting to go to work every day? I don't know. But yeah, he says, oh, my parents have just moved to Weatherfield. And as soon as we watched it, you turned around to me and said, oh, I wonder whether that's supposed to be Mick and Lou. And I was like, no, he's too old to be there, kids. But the internet seems to disagree, and the internet seems to be 100% certain that Brody is Mick and Lou's child. What are you thinking? Do you reckon that's still the case?
Well, they never really say things like that for no reason.
No,
there aren't any other new characters.
I'm not particularly. I don't know how much to get invested in Brody. No. I don't know how long this prison story is going to go for. And what difference does it make if he is Mick and Lou's child? Because they've fallen off the face of the planet, haven't they?
Yeah.
Those characters and Julie to some extent, it was like, hey, look who it is. Get used to them for the first couple of episodes because now we're putting them in a cupboard. It's the comparison to the Battersbys when they first came on the street. You couldn't escape them for weeks, I'm sure. But with Mick and Lou, they came in, they had, 3 episodes maybe? And now they're disappeared again.
They're crying because everyone hates them.
I don't. Was the last time we saw them when they were banging on Eileen and George's door and saying, it's the police, we're coming in, and then they scurried off into the ginnel?
We saw Mick by himself.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't we? We saw Mick with his boxes chucking him into the ginnel.
Yeah.
But come on, if you're going to introduce a new family on the street, Coronation Street, at least have the decency to show them, get them involved in some stories for a little bit. I hope it's not too long before we see them, because we've got to be invested. And the only way we can be invested in them is if we actually see them and not have them disappear for weeks on end and then pop up again a little bit. Come on. But anyway, the Dylan story was very much by the by for me this week. Same with the Kevin stuff, really. Do you want to do a little rundown of old cancerous Kev?
Abby's talking to Ronnie on the phone and says that he needs to come and pick something up later. And meanwhile, Sally is telling Tim he needs to apologise to Kevin. And Tim's like, well, Kevin should apologise to me. And so Sally says... Oh,
yeah, they've had a falling out, haven't they, the boys?
Because
of Tim being a bit too jovial. Yeah.
So Sally says, right, I'm going to invite everybody round and you guys are going to learn to love each other again.
I was excited at the prospect of a dinner party. I've said many times before on the podcast, I love a nice dinner party. Sally at a dinner party is peak. I kind of think that they had some fun scenes, but they didn't give enough time to the dinner party scenes and it kind of went sour a little bit too quickly. What did you think?
Yeah, I would have liked more comedy, and because this was like, I don't think there were many, Corrie fans who didn't go, ooh, a dinner party at Sally's house. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
So
a dinner party in any drama is a perfect opportunity for there to be tension in a social situation and people giving each other looks, and we just didn't get a whole lot of that, and it was very quickly devolved into Kevin being a bit of a grump again.
Websters arrive, the wives make them, shake hands, Debbie and Ronnie turn up, they make a few jokes about it being a swingers party.
Oh, yes. So you had to explain this to me, didn't you? This pampas grass thing.
You've written pampas grass down as well.
Yeah, I did. I'd never heard of this. And I don't... Is it just me? Do we need to explain this to any listeners? Do you want to...
Well, they just say if you've got pampas grass in your
front garden,
it's a sign that you're a swinger. That's like the urban legend.
I've literally never heard this before, but it was funny for us because it was on Monday's episode and we were watching it with our friend Rachel, and she used to live in a house which had a big pampas bush outside the front of it, didn't it?
Yep.
So
that
caused a little chortle.
Right, so they get a murder mystery game out. What was it called?
I don't know,
but I like murder mystery games. Kevin is not enjoying it, and he's really mad when Ronnie and Abby's characters are having affairs with each other.
Yeah, Kevin just spends the whole time. He's just worried. Being an arse. He's worried. Is he understandably worried? I don't know. He seems to have pulled.
Well, this doesn't feel like the best way to take his mind off things, because I don't. If I was like devising an evening to help take Kevin's mind off the fact that he had cancer, I'd probably ask him, what do you want to do? I wouldn't make him play a murder mystery game with a bunch of his friends. I just don't think it's his thing. And I know that they can't always only ever do what Kevin wants, because that would be just as weird probably and unsettling. But he's clearly still upset.
Could have been worse. She could have cracked out a game of Operation, couldn't she? Like, can you remove the testicle without it buzzing?
Oh, Kevin's dead. No, that's not appropriate.
Oh, it's fine. It fits.
At least it wasn't
the story.
Monopoly.
Why?
Well, because everyone hates Monopoly, don't they?
Talk about money being passed around all over the place.
God.
Coronation Street's just like one big game of Monopoly, isn't it?
It is. So, Sally's like, Kevin, I think it was your character that did it. And Kevin's like, yeah, it was my character. Let's go home.
He's not
fed up with it.
This, is he?
So he says, you two, Ronnie and Abi, you're having it off. Fed up with being rubbed in my face. I'm going home to bed. So Abi gets home and she has a go at him. And she's like, excuse me, you're accusing me of being the one having an affair on my spouse who's got cancer, but I think that it's you that is remembering yourself.
Yes, Kevin's not been white to the white,
Kevin
has he?
famously had an affair when Sally had breast cancer.
Yeah, exactly. And,
So
he went off with Natalie Oryx a few years before that.
So he can shut up. Yeah, and you're having affairs.
It's
so
not like you get. It's not like, well, I've had an affair, so you can have one, but.
Is that tit for tat?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, she also had an affair with Imran.
Was it an affair, or was she just? I thought she was single at that point.
Well, she knew that Imran was.
She knew that he was not single.
So she starts getting upset about not knowing. Oh, who are you anymore? Oh, no, he's getting upset. She's getting upset. He says, "Yeah, I don't know who I am anymore," and she says, "You're a man. You're the only man I want."
Yeah, he does.
And then she gives him a hug. And this was Monday.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and there was no more from that.
This was weird because we already had this. We already had a scene that felt quite conclusive, where she said this before, like, "I'm looking after you now," and she gave him a hug on the same exact sofa in the same exact way. And then we had a slight detour where he thought she was having an affair with Ronnie.
Is
and
that
now
the
we're
end
back
of
again.
this story?
I know. Are they going to do anything else that looks suspicious?
If this was all it was a bit filler. But equally, I'm not really up for an idea of a story where Abi is either having an affair or Kevin thinks that she's having an affair. I think it's an unnecessary extra wrinkle.
Well, I don't know. I think probably it's fair to say that it's worth exploring. If a man's having cancer there and having to have bits removed and perhaps feeling, like his masculinity's under threat, and then his wife won't sleep with him, then, your sexuality when you're sick is very complicated because your libido changes and maybe your partner finds it a bit intimidating and scary. It's kind of like what happened with Bethany with her stoma.
Yeah.
It is sort of worth discussing, but I don't know that this was really an in-depth kind of. And this is the thing. I think it's worth
discussing, but we didn't need the affair part of it.
Sometimes they brush on things that they later go back to in greater depth, and I feel like it wasn't worth doing the initial run over.
I don't think that there was room for this story on Wednesday. That's the thing. Not with everything that was going on with David and Daisy.
No, I think it would have been a bit weird to have had like a breakaway bit where Kevin's trying to shag Abi and she doesn't want to.
Yeah, but I would like to have seen the aftermath from Debbie and Ronnie's point of view of this affair being, publicly accused of at the dinner party, but there was nothing. So what we're going to have now, when's Debbie going to come round to Kevin and say, are you cooled down now? Because really, in real life, that probably would have happened the next day.
Yeah.
And so it's going to feel odd whenever it does turn up again.
But also, if you're Debbie at this point, Ronnie has had a go at Leanne, and now somebody accused him of having a go at Abi.
Yeah, I wonder whether she's going to start to get a little bit insecure there.
I don't think. I think I would like to believe that Debbie would just find it hilarious and trust him. But
yeah, I'd probably we
don't have any idea about what her romantic history is. Like, has she been cheated on before? Or...
Yeah, she's got 30 years worth of
mystery,
real untapped history there.
I like to think
I'd like
that
to
she
see will
was
get explored in this.
Single the whole time because she was too busy working at her property in Turkey.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have time to date.
Right, the Ken storyline this week. So obviously last week was the big blowout, and Cassie was uncovered as being a massive poisoner. Ken's comes home from hospital on Monday with Tracy, and she starts to have a look through all the pills that they've brought home for him. Tyrone and Fizz come round to apologise on Cassie's behalf and says, look, honestly, we'll pay you back every penny that Cassie stole.
Here's a question. Are you going to pay me back for this air fryer that I didn't order? But if you are, can I still keep it though? Or do you want to take it with you? Because it's actually really handy, but I didn't actually want to pay for it.
I think that they should have had Ken saying, no, you don't have to pay me back, it's fine. And then David walk in and said, I'll have it. If you're doing handouts, Ty and Fizz, I know we don't usually appear in the same story ever, but yeah.
If there's money going, I'll have it.
Yeah. Ty says, look, I've kicked Cassie out, honestly, we're through with her. There was a funny scene later where Tracy thinks Ken's popped his clogs on the sofa when he's just thinking with his eyes closed, and he's decided, because he's a wise man, not to press charges against Cassie. That would be too much drama, and I don't think Claire Sweeney's ready to leave the show yet. So let's just not press any charges. Don't want to go through the stress of going to court, he says. I've not forgiven her, but this is the best for everyone. And that's that. Case closed. Tracy, don't even try and push it any further. Maybe it was Hope who had the fancy strawberry milkshake, because she on Monday went to the cafe with Cassie.
I think Roy's peddling too much sugar to these kids.
It's always strawberry milkshakes. It is always
strawberry's the worst
strawberry milkshake. What kid goes and orders a strawberry milkshake when there's chocolate on the menu?
A lot of them do.
Do they?
But it's
you don't know what
clearly
you're missing, kids. Salted
worst.
caramel is.
Actually, no, banana's
Does Roy
the
do those? They're banana milkshakes.
Banana
nice.
is the worst. Then it's
I
strawberry.
am a milkshake connoisseur, Gemma. You know this.
No, if they're made from powder, strawberry and banana are both rank. They're disgusting.
Oh, banana Nesquik's all
no,
right.
it's foul. It smells disgusting.
The worst is the Crusher liquid milkshake. Even I have my standards, and I won't have any of that tat.
Do you remember the milkshake straws?
What?
The milkshake straws.
No.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Don't you guys?
Oh, the stuff that you just drank milk out of and it turned it into a milkshake on the way up. Yeah.
And you and
yeah.
They will rank as well.
One of those. Yeah. I'd like to think that Roy does it properly, but he probably doesn't, does
Vanilla.
he? No ice cream touches Roy's milkshake.
This is just a tip to Cassie and Hope, is that I tell you, a chocolate milkshake is very nice with vodka in it.
Is it?
Of a breakfast, yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go. Maybe for Cassie and not for Hope.
No, I think she should try it. She's vaping, why not?
Hope brings Cassie back to number 9 later and says to Mum and Dad, look, you need to forgive her. She's sorry. Come on. And Cassie's like, yeah, please don't hate me. Can we just have one drink in the Rovers before I sling me ook for good? So they go around the pub and we learn that from Tyrone that Ken is indeed dropping the charges. Tyrone's paying back the money. Then Tracy and co come in and make sure that Cassie knows exactly what they think of her. And Tyrone's like, did you know about this? Did you know what your mum was doing? And he's like, no, honestly, I don't. And Cassie slinks off ashamed, and that's kind of the end of that. So we're sort of left hanging there, aren't we, with what happened next. Has she gone back to number 9? Has she gone back to a park bench somewhere? I don't know.
Don't really know.
Because a car crash happened, a hit and run happened on Wednesday, and that seemed to take over everything. But I guess there's more to go on there. It felt like it was just a natural progression of characters being mad at each other after a quite big revelation last week. So that was that. Yasmeen's story, Gemma, and Alia.
Oh my God, I tell you, can I just say that Alia had amazing hair? I think she always has great hair, but particularly beautiful this week.
That being said,
what a plonker. What an absolute plonker. I'm so sick of her.
I know that they've built up the idea that, what are they called? I've forgotten. The Fabians. They have shown that he is a bit of a
cutthroat.
Yeah, and he's not a very pleasant lawyer.
Yeah.
But really, Alia, you can't pick and choose your cases, girl.
Alia is such an arsehole. She thinks she can be a lawyer, but only for innocent people. What
Head
are you
off to
talking
Ireland
about?
for 6 months, come back and think that you can just do
pick
whatever.
and choose,
yeah.
whatever I want, do what I want. I don't represent anybody who's done anything unsavoury. Well, sorry, but why are you a criminal lawyer? You could be a lawyer about fences.
I mean, it is quite coincidental. and unlucky, I suppose, that Alia's two big cases. One, somebody getting stabbed when she got stabbed. And two, a coercive control case.
My gran had that.
It's like a little bit, that's bad luck, isn't it?
Them's
the cards you've been dealt, girl.
Hang on a minute. She lives on a street where there's literally no crime that could possibly take place that she'd have to do a case about, that she hasn't seen happen in front of her own eyes.
But it's the fact that it's happened to her, isn't it?
Or it's all about Alia.
What other dramatic thing?
Oh, my boyfriend got blown up in a car.
Yeah, she's going to be defending a Pat Phelan type next,
probably.
Isn't she?
Serial killer who's defrauding people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's like, I'm really struggling at the moment because I'm doing a coercive control case. And Yasmeen's like, oh, well, at least you're doing something worthy. And she's like, no, I'm defending the guy who done it. You're not supposed to say that, are you? You're not supposed to say I'm defending the abuser. You're supposed to be like, my client is innocent.
Yeah, she's not quite got the hang of it, has she? I wouldn't be paying for her. I think you've been dealt a bum deal if you get Alia as
she's a surly little miss, isn't she?
If you've been a bit naughty, yeah.
Right, so Yasmeen says, why don't you just ask them to go on a different case? So later on, Yasmeen and Roy are in Speed Daal and they've gone to see Evelyn at the student union. And Yasmeen is kind of like bowled over by how youthful and vibrant and passionate Evelyn is about this new career.
Evelyn.
Wait, I mean, the thing is about Evelyn is she's probably have no compunctions at all with representing a coercive control abuser.
No, she wouldn't.
Yeah, well, maybe she deserved it.
Yeah, she would, wouldn't she?
Maybe she was annoying. Did you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when we get to see Evelyn, are we going to see any of this new personality that she's apparently got, or will she be exactly the same? As I say that.
Do you think she's going to pitch up in a few years, a bit like Raquel did? Like, bonjour, I have completely changed everything about myself. I know I'm a French
there's
countess.
no change in Evelyn.
Right, so
it's made Yasmeen have a think,
she's
hasn't
like,
it?
I used to have a passion, I used to have a job, I used to do something I cared about. But completely out of nowhere, I just got offered a job, which can I just tell Coronation Street this doesn't happen? You don't just get offered a job.
Yasmeen's been headhunted.
I know.
By a charity.
Modern slavery charity against it in London.
Oh, I love that modern slavery storyline with Marta the slave.
She doesn't even know anything about it. She wasn't even in that storyline. No. Why are they offering her a job? So it's not too far from Zidane, which is good.
Handy.
Where does Zidane live?
London.
Near like a boatload of charities.
Yeah, near a charity shop.
Do you think that's
maybe
what
he lives above one.
Do you think that's what she's been offered to come and work?
Maybe.
Well, anyway, she's like, I don't know whether to do it. Am I brave enough to follow my dreams of I've always wanted to work in a charity? And Roy says, you're one of the bravest people I know.
Has she shown any...
No.
She doesn't work at Gregory Pope at all, does she?
No.
Evelyn's the charity worker, but I think that she's definitely got a good soul, doesn't she, Yasmeen? It's not like it's completely out of the realms of possibility.
She did do some stuff with Stu about charity things. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that goes, yeah, I hate charity and I actively work against it.
It fits Yasmeen's personality,
it does,
but it's still a bit
She's
odd.
She's a very community-minded person.
Yeah.
So then Alia drops home. She's like, oh, I hate lawyers, they're horrible. She's talking to Adam. I asked Fabian to put me on a different case and they said no, because and so I quit because I'm not going to be coercively controlled. But anyway, Alia, it is not coercive control to have a job.
No, I know.
Where you get told what to do. That is called having a job.
So much to learn, this girl.
She's so selfish and self-centered, isn't she?
Yeah.
I kind of love how oblivious she is to like how.
But I think that
terrible.
We're supposed to be on her side.
Don't know,
we're supposed to be going, yeah, you go, girl. You tell those Fabians that they can't make you do a case that you don't want to do.
And it really bothers me that she doesn't seem to understand the law at all, right? And she doesn't even read the contract that she signed when she joined the company because she's astounded that she's got to pay them back for the training.
I know.
Well, Alia, love, you shouldn't be a lawyer.
Now someone else has got a millstone around their neck and
you can't do contract law because you can't read anything you've signed. You can't do any kind of criminal case because you're always going to find a way to make it about yourself. Just give up.
I wonder whether on the way to the prison to pay Harvey off, Shona's going to get accosted by Alia and she's going to mug her in the street and say, I need the money. You got £40,000, let me have it.
Give it to me. So she's furious about this. She can't believe this is happening.
She asked Adam whether she can work for him.
And he's like, no, you're weird.
I'm sorry, I just don't buy them as a couple in the slightest. I didn't when they got together. He's just not her type in the slightest. I feel no chemistry between Adam and Alia. I wasn't too sure about Adam and Sarah, to be honest, but at least they had some kind of spark. These feel to me like they have solely been thrown together for plot convenience. There is nothing for me. I do not ship them.
No, I mean, when Alia ran over and gave him a hug, I was like, oh yeah, they're dating. I forgot that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the main reasons why Adam's had to cut his hair so short is because they both can't have amazing hair because it would take
Adam's
too long.
hair was not amazing when it was big.
Michael, that would have taken a long time in the bathroom, and Alia also obviously has got beautiful hair. Imagine the pair of them getting ready for work in the morning. It'd take an hour.
I just think that Adam is more into
himself.
In terms of girls, because he is a ladies' man. He's into more kind of exciting, adventurous
like a George
sort
Clooney
of girls.
kind of guy. He's like, he's going to spend his whole life being a bachelor until he gets snapped up by a human rights lawyer.
He likes going to wine bars, doesn't he? She doesn't even drink.
No.
And she
is very much a stick in the mud.
He's clearly a massive player.
Yeah, he's a player. He also cannot...
He's going to break her heart one day.
He surely cannot understand why on earth she would want to be a lawyer in the first place if she doesn't... She's going to pick and choose about who she wants to be a client.
Yeah, they're total chalk and cheese.
Like, he's got
it's not
no
a case of
compunctions.
opposites attract.
He's got no compunctions about anything.
No, he'd do it.
Like, he was helping Dylan out, and Dylan's arguably responsible for killing a young lad.
Yeah.
And Alia, oh my god, Alia's just the worst, isn't she?
Well, she may be that she's just going to by the end of this end up saying, not putting these this dream of being a lawyer to bed and end up taking over Speed Daal.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's just where it should go.
But then it's like, why did they have her doing this? Or maybe that's just the moral that she'll take, and she'll say, well, I thought that I wanted to be a lawyer, but actually that's a bit silly, isn't it? I'm just gonna...
But why did she want to be a lawyer? Is it just because she's a bossy cow?
Yeah, maybe.
Like me, who thinks
wants to get on a soapbox in the course. Yeah.
Right, so she says, yeah, can I work with you? And he says, no, I don't think so. So she goes to Speed Daal and moans at Yasmeen about it. And she's like, oh, well, I'm surprised that Adam doesn't want to work with you. But then when I think about all the people I work with, it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, Jeff, Stu for a bit, Sharif, yeah. Workplace relationships, not so good in this family.
She said, sorry, I told you to change your case. And Alia's like, oh, it's not your fault. Then she reluctantly tells Alia that she's thinking of selling her shares and
moving to London,
building up to I'm moving as well. And Alia's like, oh, well, I'll miss you, but it sounds like a good thing to do.
Yeah. So Yasmeen off just packing up,
putting
next
the old
week,
girl
apparently.
on the market. She says,
yeah,
meaning
Speed Daal.
Speed Daal, and she says I'm selling my shares in Speed Daal, but I don't know what that means.
I don't know. I've lost track.
Who else owns a bit of it?
Does Stu own a bit of it? I don't know. Does Jeff owned quite a bit of it once, didn't he? Did Yasmeen get that back? I can't remember. Who would you want to see in charge of Speed Daal?
But can I just say one thing first?
Yes.
If I was Yasmeen, I'd be really offended if I said to Alia, I'm thinking of moving, but I'm very reluctant. And Alia went, oh, see ya.
Yeah.
I'll miss you, bye.
Yeah.
Right, who do I want to be in charge of Speed Daal? I mean,
do we want Speed Daal to still be there?
Will it still be Speed Daal?
Like, Trim Up North
when?
Doesn't exist anymore. Does Speed Daal offer more than Trim Up North did? Yes, I guess, because we did have the whole, do there need to be two hair salons within walking distance of each other? Well, almost stepping distance if you got quite a wide stride. But maybe it's time
shop.
for a refresh. I don't know.
It should be a betting shop, a vape shop, or a Chinese takeaway, according to our local high street.
Do you reckon? I mean, it makes sense for it to be Alia. Who else?
But Alia, again, just kind of like Yasmeen, I'm sorry, but neither of them had a passion. It was Zidane who had the passion.
That's why I wonder whether Speed Daal's had its day. This was it Zidane and Rana who decided to do this?
Yeah, and it started off as a van.
Yeah.
And then because he was like a budding chef, and so was Robert. And now they actually don't have any chefs.
I can't remember, because Yasmeen was a librarian, and then she worked at
then it got burned
the
down.
community centre, didn't she?
bought
And she just kind of got hauled into Speed Daal and
Yeah.
found that she quite enjoyed it. But I think with Zidane and Rana and Yasmeen now on the scene, it could be time to say goodbye to Speed Daal. I don't think it... We've got the bistro, but then if you have... At least at the moment, they can alternate between two places that they go out for dinner. But I don't think I'd be sad if it turned into something else.
I mean, there's like an unspoken thing maybe about... But it doesn't apply at all to this situation. But I wonder if they might kind of bring it up where, you know, there's a family business, especially with, you know, immigrants coming and bringing their food and selling, you know, opening a restaurant or something to sell the food of their country.
Yeah.
And then the next generation have to decide, do I want to take over the family business? And if I don't, am I turning my back on my culture? And is this letting my family down? I've suddenly built this, you know.
Mm.
But that doesn't exist for this because it was her brother that opened
Yeah.
it. She doesn't care one way or the other. Yasmeen's not invested in it. It doesn't mean anything to Yasmeen. There's no real, you know... I mean, she obviously cares about her culture, but I don't feel like she thinks that food is the only way to share it.
No.
So it would have been interesting if there had been some kind of story they could have built around that concept, because I know that that's something that lots of people, because of the way generations work, there's a lot of people that are kind of thinking about that around now, aren't there? There's lots of children or like, you know, young adults who are parents were immigrants who came over and built something amazing, but they don't necessarily want to do that with their lives.
Yeah.
But honestly, the way that Alia's stupid lawyer career has gone, I think this is a better bet for her.
I wonder whether Leanne should buy into Speed Daal. Because
she's got the money.
She's got the money from the bistro now, hasn't she?
Don't tell anyone.
And Les's money.
Don't let anyone else know.
To have her literally set herself as the rival to Nick's business at the bistro.
That would be excellent.
Could be a bit of mileage in there. And also it's, you know, Leanne and Cal were together once, and maybe it'd be a way of staying connected to the family that she at one point was going to be marrying into.
Yeah, I think maybe Yasmeen would be happy to sell it to Leanne because, you know, she did come around to her in the end.
Well, yeah, there was the scene a couple of weeks ago, wasn't there, with Yasmeen telling Leanne, I still think you're part of the family.
Maybe that's why they put that in.
Could be.
That would be really interesting. I can just imagine Toya and Nick's faces when, and also Leanne's face when she smugly tells them that she's just bought Speed Daal.
Because she's great as a host, as a restaurateur. That's been her thing.
I don't think she's good at it, but
one of her many jobs. It's been one of her less eyebrow-raisy career paths that she's taken, hasn't it?
You can change it into anything else. I think the zoning might have an issue.
So yeah, I think maybe that would be my best bet for new patron of
I'd
Speed Daal.
rather have
patron. That's not the right word.
Owner. I'd rather have Leanne do it than Alia.
Yeah.
Because it does feel a bit silly, like just because she's the granddaughter of the person that owned it doesn't mean that you need to take over a restaurant when you're not even that bothered.
Yeah.
But what would you rather? Like somebody on the street, Alia or Leanne takes it over, or they just close it completely, or they turn it into something else?
I mean, I like the idea of change, but Corrie seems very hesitant and adverse to doing big things like that.
It's a funny set because I don't... You know, I said it should be an anthropology or something. Do you remember?
Yeah.
But it does go, you know, because it's a basement. It's a bit of a weird... It makes sense as a restaurant. But, like, when you go to... Because we don't really have places like that. Outside of London, I don't think, and big cities. Most shops are on street level. So when you go to, like, another country or somewhere where you have to go down steps to get to a shop, you're like, is this a murder shop? I don't want to jump her that bad. I'm fine. I'll stay cold.
Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? We quickly moving on to the last few stories. So we've got Carla going back to work on Friday. She's all better after a kidney transplant now,
She looks great,
she's decided to go back to the factory, and she gets a welcome from Sally and Izzy and Sean doing a bit of brown nosing, and then Bobby kind of comes into the office and is a bit sheepish because things weren't left on good terms between them, and Carla says, look, I'm going to be civil with you, and that's that. Bugger off, Bobby. So then we hear that that Rob is still in the news, unsurprisingly, as he probably would be, an escaped murderer on the loose. Betsy's having a look at an article about him, and possibly been seen in Brighton.
Was there not a radio?
It was like a Weatherfield news app that also has a little radio bit down the bottom.
Yeah, because they said that he was in Brighton and they said on the south coast.
Yeah, watch out.
Like, in case you don't know where Brighton is, it's far from here.
So anyway, that's not the big drama. The big drama is that Carla goes back to her flat and oh no, it's been turned over, it's been raided. Clearly Rob Donovan has been going in there. Quite fortunate for him. Do you think he's been waiting, like sitting inside the bin outside outside Prima Donna all this time, just waiting for Carla to actually leave the flat? And he thought, brilliant, now's my chance. So he's been around. You wouldn't have been able to
rob me when I had my operation. I didn't leave the house for about 3 weeks.
Exactly.
I bet he's
been... 3 weeks have gone, I think.
I bet he's been nicking Lisa's iron brews.
Bet he has.
She's going to be really mad.
Yeah, but no, he's taken all of Carla's cash and her painkillers, presuming it's him.
I don't
And Carla immediately believes that it's Bobby that's in cahoots with him and has let him know when the flat was empty.
Oh, my painkillers have been taken. I need new ones.
Oh, do you reckon?
No, I do think that I took them.
Yeah, so anyway, look, Rob's
back. Right,
sorry. What?
If Rob's going to break into somewhere and steal painkillers, why doesn't he break into the medical centre that's just literally down the road and has lots of painkillers?
I thought
he's a desperate criminal.
For the drama. Just for the drama. He's skulking around Speed Daal. Like, I keep saying Speed Daal again. Prima Donna later, isn't he? Because Betsy gets told she can't go to a party because they're worried about him being on the loose and accosting her in the street, but she goes out anyway, and he's there skulking with his hood up in the shadows.
Oh so, no!
Watch this space for more Rob next week. I hope he's seen what all the top Corrie villains do, which is have a big showdown, disappear off screen for a few weeks, lurk for an episode before some big dramatic finale. So
usually
maybe there's going to be a big dramatic finale here next week,
or being kidnapped.
Yeah, probably one or the other. Possibly at gunpoint.
I can't imagine Betsy kidnapping him.
Yeah, so there's only one way this is going to go, isn't it? What's Julie been up to this week, Gemma?
She's sticking around for a while. Brian and Mary... Mary's not interested, but Brian is.
Yeah, Mary is still getting a little bit jealous of Brian making eyes at Julie. She says... you
should never go back to something you've finished with.
Yes.
Interesting. I don't call that as a well-known saying.
Well, they used the dog going back to its 6 line last week, didn't they? So they couldn't crack it out again.
No. Friday, she's got to go to see the palliative care nurse, but she doesn't want to tell Eileen about any of it. So George lies to Eileen and tells her she's got to go to a work meeting. Then she comes to see them after the appointment and she's very tired. And Eileen's disappointed because she's booked them a table, and
at Speed Daal, no less.
Yeah, Julie's like, no, I can't go another time. So Eileen, Todd, and George go anyway, and Eileen just like can't even face the meal. She's too sad, and she leaves.
Yeah, because she thinks that Julie has gone off her. Or
this is like a super sulky, immature reaction to your sister saying, "I'm tired."
Yeah,
is it not like, why are you acting like this? You're a grown woman.
I think.
Can you not just take it on face value that she might actually really be tired?
But it's not just this, is it? Julie's been back and Eileen's known about her for a week and a half now, and I can only presume in the time that we haven't seen her that she's been acting equally evasive. And...
she's done stuff with her that she wanted.
Yeah, I guess there's been something.
I think the reason that they've made her do this is because she's going to turn on Julie, and then Julie's going to reveal.
Yeah.
And then she'll feel bad about having had a go at her when she was tired because she had cancer.
Yeah, I hope the truth comes out soon.
A bit irritating.
Yeah. I like the bit when Julie came into the pub and Sean's there and they have a bit of a reunion hug. That was heartwarming. I mean, again, I don't know why she's been on the street for 2 weeks now and she's only just now thought to go and see previous best mate Sean. But well,
she's just going around to collect people for her funeral.
Yeah, probably.
Which is what I want to do. I make sure that lots of people, like I said before, I need at least 100.
What are we giving this week's Coronation Street?
This is difficult.
It is a difficult one because Wednesday's one was difficult to judge for many reasons. But I
think we've said what we think.
Yeah.
But the question is, is it more important how the story was told, or what the story was.
I can't remember how I scored it on Monday, whether I gave it a bog standard or a bobbins. I'm going to say possibly a bog standard. It was a so-so week with a bit of excitement but weirdness on Wednesday.
It was a really good episode. I'm just really frustrated that it was built on such a shaky premise, because if that story that held it together had been stronger, that would have been an incredible episode, and it would have been another really great, jewel in the crown of the beginning of the year, because the Mason episode was as well.
That got universal praise. The Mason episode.
Say it was it was ambitious in its storytelling technique in the same way that Wednesday's was. So, and it took risks, but they paid off.
Yeah.
Whereas this one didn't feel like it paid off in the same way, because the story wasn't as good, and so it does show you I'm happy for there to be a bit of experimental, editing and storytelling, but you really have to back it up with something more substantial than what we got, which was, I think part of it was also Jack P. Shepherd trolling everybody by saying that David was going to die, because I think it kind of made me go into the episode absolutely certain, but I already would have been.
That he
was that he's not going to die.
Nothing could have happened to have made us think that David was in any kind of real risk for this.
So,
go on, you got to give it a score. I'm going to press you for this. It's usually me that goes first. I'm going to let you go first this week.
I don't want them to stop taking risks, and I don't want them to. But they're not going to. No one's going to go, oh, well, they gave us a 3, so we're not doing it anymore.
Go on, go for it.
3.5. I'm giving it.
Yeah.
Dogs with 2 todgers.
3.5 dogs with 2 todgers.
So that how many todgers is that?
How many todgers in total? That is 7 todgers you got there. Well, I'm going to give it 3 todgers on dogs this week. I've got a treble todgered dog. Who was it that even said that? Was it Kevin
remember, but as soon as you said it, I was like, write that down.
Write that down. We'll score it out of that. Character of the week this week.
I mean David, even though he was an idiot, because
I don't know whether I can give it to him because he was such a pillock.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really know who else it could be. Daisy was very good, fantastic. But I don't think that she excited me as much as the other storyline did.
That was absolutely tragic.
I've really enjoyed Sarah Lou this week actually, and Audrey.
Can't give to Sarah.
And Shona.
Alia for standing up for her morals against the entire concept of justice.
Can we give it to Andy for following through with it? Or do we? At some point, we give Harvey Character of the Week, despite not appearing, just for being the instigator of all this drama behind the scenes.
See, Harvey's starting to feel a bit like God to me. It's like he's all powerful, he knows everything. Everybody blames him for all the bad stuff they do.
I think I might.
You had to go at me for being not decisive.
There wasn't a standout week. I mean, I'd probably go for David. Just because, as bizarre and stupid as his plan was, he was the instigator of the episode that really did have me hooked.
It had everyone talking. So. It was divisive.
Yeah, David for me. David to me, Character of the Week. You can go for David if you like.
I already did.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
I already give props to I want to give props to Jack P. Shepherd for that deadpan, really interesting delivery of his interior monologue, because I just love the idea that David in his head to himself sounds like a sarcastic arsehole, even in his darkest moments.
Yeah, it's true. Right, so there you go. That is this week's Street Talk.
Well, what did you think?
Yeah, what did you
think? I am really
guys?
interested in what everybody else thinks about this, because I know some people absolutely hated it. I know some people really liked it, but I do think that a lot of the people that liked it with reservations. But I wonder if the reverse is true, and if anybody who didn't like it at all, if you could see any kind of redeeming features and you were thinking, if only they had just done this one thing, or I can't, I feel like, the subject matter was too close to me. I didn't like how they treated it, or something like that.
I also owe a gangster £40,000.
Yes, that's the trouble.
Yeah. Where's the ITV?
They never have that.
Advice about that.
At the end of the episode, they should have Martin Lewis come on and go, right, if you're having money troubles, maybe you should think about opening a savings account for emergencies.
Yeah.
Just like this, like when a gangster comes after you for cash.
Anyway. Should we finish this a little bit?
Try a stocks and shares ISA.
That is this week on Coronation Street. We'll see what Rob gets up to next week. See what Yasmeen gets up to next week.
Try premium bonds, like Ken.
That is street talk done for the day.